until one of the other vehicles gets out and I can get that exact information, I just wanted to double check our southern boundary, make sure we weren't searching for a... Oh, hello. Male line track, but crossing out. Come on, Queen Karulski, where are you hiding?
And a very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to our pre-show show. You started off with Brent, you're now with me, in order to check that everything is working up to scratch on the vehicles. We're trundling along looking for things to show you. And now I'm going to send you back to Brent.
Oh, well, we're back. Apparently we went to visit Jamie for a little bit, but we're back again. Yes, I know, I've seen them. Male lion tracks, but those are unfortunately a little bit old. But we're not looking for lions, we're looking for Karula. Well, hopefully between Jamie, myself and Steph, one of us finds a cat today to keep the street going, and I'm causing a traffic jam, which is quite normal when I'm looking for tracks. Off you go, person. Don't drive over my tracks. Here we go. Probably on their way to either Cheetah Plains in Koro or Chitwa Chitwa. Okay, we're back to sitting sideways and staring at the sand. Something we do quite a lot here in the bush. Stare at sand, that is, while we look for the tracks of the big cats. Maybe the wild dogs will surprise us with a visit today, hopefully. So if we find no tracks here, I'm going to make my way towards Treehouse Waterhole, see what's cracking in that area. Thankful for a little bit of cloud cover because it is quite a scorcher today. It's about 34 degrees Celsius, just over 90 Fahrenheit. Now, I'm not sure who we're going to see after the pre-show. Are we going to see Steph or are we going to see Jamie? They're all out with us today. Oh, sorry, it's not Steph, it's Byron on walk today. I'm still not sure who we're going to see after the pre-show. Okay, now I know, but it's a surprise, I'm not going to tell you. Well, I told you it's a surprise who we're going to see. After the pre-show. Could it be Byron? Could it be Jamie?
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome, we're looking for big cats in the African bush. This is Safari Live. Welcome to sunny or partly sunny South Africa, and a huge welcome to Malibu Elementary School in the good old US of A. Great to have you on the back for your very own special school drive. Remember to send us as many questions as possible, and hopefully you're going to have lots of fun. At the moment I'm busy tracking leopards. I'm hoping that we're going to find a female leopard with 2 babies, and she disappeared into this area, but there's our first animal of the day. And oh, it's running fast. Can Jandre find it? And then of course I have the talented Jandre on camera who's following a running Steenbok. There we go. Oh, off it goes. So that is a little antelope, and it's not a baby, it's the big one, and it's going to try avoid the leopard we're looking for because that's one of her favorite foods. And it is very hot today. Oh, there's an impala. About 92 or 93 Fahrenheit. Now, this is our most common antelope here in South Africa. Oh, he doesn't like us either. He's also running away. Terrible creature. Come back. Stop. Don't be naughty. No, he's gone. Well, that was a male impala, and he's got horns. So, unlike the deer you get in the USA, like white-tailed deer, their horns fall off once a year. Our animals keep their horns their whole life unless they break them and they don't grow back. Oh, one of my favorite little critters. Oh, he went down a hole, but let's see if he pops up again. There we go. The smallest member of the family, or of the order, Carnivora in Africa, the dwarf mongoose. Social mongoose species. They live in groups of about 15 to up to 30 in some cases. In this area, normally about 10 to 20 in the group. Very, very alert little fellas, because when you're small out here, everything wants to make you a snack. Now we can only see one, but there'll be others around. Now they move through the bush foraging for scorpions, snakes, spiders, beetles. Oh, there's another one. And when they get a fright, they run into a hole to hide, and when they think it's safe, then they pop up again. Very, very fast, and you've got to be. Oh, back down the hole. Now, we're going to keep looking for this leopard, but of course we're not the only people looking for animals on this wonderful afternoon here in Africa. There are 2 others, and let's go meet the first, Jamie.
Hello and welcome to the Sunset Safari, and a very warm welcome to the students of Malibu Elementary. I hope you're all really very excited to go on safari. I hope you've got your sunblock on and your hats on and you're ready to go and see some wild animals. My name is Jamie, and the gentleman behind the camera, his name is Gert, which is a tough name to say if it's not a name that you're familiar with. And we'll all call him Gert. He's also known as Carrot, which is slightly easier for a lot of you to pronounce. Right, I want to show you something special, and they've just moved, so hold on one moment and we're going to catch up with them. Now, Brent was explaining to you what the difference is between an antelope and a deer. Well, I have 2 antelope that are playing hide and seek with me this afternoon, but I want to try and show them to you because these 2 antelope are very, very special for a very special reason.
Copy. We're going to go check the area. Sorry about that. I was on the radio, organising my afternoon. We're trying to find those leopards. I'm trying to find out where the last footprints for those leopards were. 1 second. Copy, thanks. And, well, there's some impala. Oh, these ones not going to be joggity jog impalas. They're going to be hopefully stay impalas. Yes, they are. So it's the male impala, where we might be very lucky and see a little baby impala today. The females have been giving birth in the last week or so, so there's a good chance we might see a tiny impala. Hi, Katie. Katie is wondering, what is the difference between a gazelle and an antelope? Well, a gazelle is an antelope. A gazelle is a type of antelope. So an impala is an antelope, a gazelle is an antelope, a wildebeest is an antelope, a duiker is an antelope. Where'd that duiker go? I saw another antelope. Where did he go? A little one, not quite as small as the one we saw earlier. No, it's disappeared. Okay, let's keep moving. Now, there is some water here and it's been so hot, so maybe the leopards decided they were thirsty and went for a drink. Now, you've met Jamie, but you must remember we are live, so sometimes we do have a little technical difficulties. Hopefully that'll be fixed in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. But also, there's a very brave man walking about on foot, so let's go meet Byron.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Bushwalk for Safari Live. My name is Byron.
Coming back to us. Well, it seems like we're the only ones out here this afternoon. Hopefully all those problems get sorted quickly. I'm afraid I'm going to be with you in 1 second. And so I heard from Candice that they were in Law Virtual Access. I'm not sure exactly where, but at about 2:30. Okay, so we're coming up to the waterhole, and I said hopefully if it was really hot, some of the animals might come for a drink. Now, when you see me hanging my head over the side of the car like that, it means I'm looking for footprints. But while looking for footprints, sometimes you find other creatures, and that's what I just did. Now, hopefully I can find this thing again, because it is using camouflage. Oh dear. Did it hop, skip, and a jump away? It was a grasshopper that looked exactly like a leaf. Now, where was that? Let's have a look now. It was here. It just saw him jump. Oh, it's disappeared. Now, it's not only about the big hairies and scaries. We like also looking at all the little things, the bugs, the birds, the leaves, the grass. Now, let's have a look. Hello, Gabriella. Gabriella would like to know how we tell cheetahs and leopards apart. Well, Gabriella, it's quite simple, really. One's got rosettes, which is basically a group of 3 spots with a darker area in the middle, and one's got spots. So the cheetah's got spots. Cheetah are also much more tall and elegant. Well, I suppose they're both very elegant. Oh, we've got another elegant creature. Gabriella, I haven't forgotten about you, but let's look. Oh, we've got some more. We've got lots of animals here. The kudu have just come for a drink. They're busy walking away at the moment. There we go. That's a young male kudu. He's still growing, but he's a very elegant antelope. And you can see all the birds on his body. Those are called oxpeckers. And what they do is eat all the bad bugs like ticks and fleas that are on the kudu, and so it's a mobile meal on wheels for the oxpeckers. There we go. Very pretty antelope. And, oh, he's going to get some more. He's full of oxpeckers. Incoming. There we go. Just landing. Beautiful little birds. Now, as I said, it's not all about the big things always. And someone just came to... No, don't go away. Oh, he escaped. Oh, he's going to land again. Come back out. There's a pretty bug. There we go. Oh. There we go. No! Oh. There we go. There's a little beetle. Now, what's really interesting about this beetle is it's what we call a mimic. So it pretends to be something it's not. So there's another type of beetle that's called a meloid or a blister beetle that has black and yellow spots on it, and when he's on you, he sprays formic acid and it causes burns on your skin. Oh, there he goes. But that little one, like that, he might look, whoa, he's coming back, form. He might look like a meloid, but he's not. So he's pretending to be dangerous so the birds don't eat him. But now, I said it's not all about the big things, but now we've got something very big to show you. Look at that. It's a hippopotamus. And he's also got an oxpecker. It's a male hippo who's not looking in too good a shape. We're coming towards the end of one of the worst droughts, and there we go. He's got some wounds on his back from fighting with other hippos, and what that oxpecker is doing, you should actually, a better name for an oxpecker is because they also eat blood. They should be called vampire birds because they will basically open up wounds on these animals and drink their blood. And then you see there's little heads moving around his head. That's a little reptile called a terrapin. I think in America you call them turtles. And they also can be quite a pain for something like a hippo, because if he's got an open wound that's under the water, they'll bite it, but they'll also try and eat the ticks that might be on the hippo as well. Okay, look at that. Isn't that absolutely fantastic? Well, we're going to sit here for a little bit. I'm going to try and listen to see if I can hear where the leopards might be. While I do that, let's go try say hello to Byron again.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Bushwalk. Let's hope our signal works now. My name is Byron, and on camera with me this afternoon is VM. So we're busy walking around, trying to look for some of the smaller creatures that we might find on a bushwalk. You never know, we could bump into some of the bigger animals too, but maybe find a few little insects, and I've managed to find one over here. Let's hope it stays very, very well camouflaged. So I'm going to go down slowly and point it to you. Beautiful little grasshopper just over there. Can you see that? Look at that. Very, very beautiful. So these are the types of little insects that we try to look for when we are walking in the bush, but we do have to be very aware and constantly keep a lookout for other animals, because we do often bump into animals out here. You can imagine it's a very different experience when you're walking and you don't have the safety of the vehicle. Isn't that beautiful? Look at those beautiful colors in that grasshopper. So well camouflaged. As I mentioned, we'll try and see what else we can find, and we try to look in odd little areas you wouldn't normally look in, and like an area like this, I've found a little hole in a tree just over here, and I wonder what could possibly be living inside here. Now, something this size, you could possibly get little squirrels that live inside here, perhaps. This hole may have been started by a bird of sorts, and the bird has probably moved out, and maybe other animals like I said, squirrels, maybe even snakes live inside here. And this little hole looks quite hollow. So this section of the tree has been hollowed out, and all the way down, it's very, very hollow. So anything that wanted to live in there could have a lot of good shelter and safety inside a tree like this. I'm trying to look in, but I don't see anything. You never know, you could stick your head in and something comes out, but it doesn't look like anything is in there at the moment. So we're going to continue on our walk. We're walking in a beautiful area. So we will keep our eyes out for little interesting creatures, maybe some birds. But while we continue, let's head back to Brent and see if he has an update for us on the leopards.
Now, the reason a hippo likes to lie in the water is because it protects him from the sun. And as you can see, there's not much water about at the moment. Well, Juliana is wondering how heavy can a hippo get? And a big male hippo can be in the region of 5,000 pounds, Juliana, so a really massive animal. All the bugs are attacking me today. But as you can see, this guy's not in the best condition. And the reason he's by himself and he doesn't have any girlfriends around is because it looks to be an older male, and the males will defend groups of females quite aggressively. So the males will generally be, the dominant males will be with groups of females in bigger bits of water where there's water left. And these young males or old males are pushed to these single little ponds that are not actually ideal. And Mrs. Frederick was wondering how I could tell that it was a male. Mrs. Frederick, it's also just the sheer size of the animal. Females are noticeably smaller than males. And you can see he is alive. If you watch his nostrils, you can see. Now, hippos can only hold their breath underwater for just about 5 minutes. They also can't swim. Well, that sounds strange. An animal lives in the water who can't swim. Yeah, so they run along the bottom and they have to get to shallow areas to breathe. So they can't swim in the traditional sort of way of swimming. Now, there's lots of different African folklore about hippos, and if you have a look at this hippo, you see those spots on it, it looks like he used to have hair. Now, there's an old Zulu fable that it's called When Hippo Was Hairy. Now, hippo didn't always used to live in the water. He used to live out in the bush with all the other animals, and he had the most beautiful coat. He was the best looking animal in the whole of Africa. But he was a very boastful and nasty animal. And because he was big and beautiful, he used to bully all the other animals. And he used to say, look how pretty I am, look how pretty I am, you must get me this, you must get me food, I'm just going to lie here, I'm too beautiful to do anything. And he carried on till eventually some of the animals got upset. And the jackal, which is like your coyote, I suppose our African equivalent of, which is quite a smart animal, eventually got so tired of the hippo being boastful and bullying all the other animals. So the hippo found Jackal, pushed him into a corner, said, you will go get me food or I'll chomp you in half. Because of course hippo have very big teeth for fighting. And the Jackal said, yes, my lord, of course I will. Went and got him some food, some nice marula fruit, some nice grass, and eventually the Jackal said he had had enough of this. So he said to the hippo, oh, it's getting dark soon. It's going to be cold. Should I steal some fire from the man village to keep you warm? Because that's how the men keep warm. And the hippo said, yes, my good servant Jackal, that is a very good idea. I don't want to be cold in this winter's night. And what Jackal did is he stole some fire from the people's village, and instead of making a fire for the hippo, he set the hippo alight. And the hippo's long, beautiful coat burst into flames, and he had to run to the closest river, and he dived in to the river. And when he came out and he looked at his reflection in the mirror, he realized without the hair he was the ugliest animal in all the bush. And so since then he's always lived in the water, trying to hide most of his body from the other animals. You can see how ugly he is now because of all his hair being burnt off. And that's why hippos only come out of the water at night to eat food, because they're too embarrassed and they don't want the other animals to see how ugly they are. So there's a nice little Zulu folklore story for you guys. We're going to keep moving and keep looking for leopards. Braylon is asking, did something attack that hippo? Indeed it did, Braylon. It was another hippo. So hippo bulls, the males, they fight very, very aggressively against each other for mating rights to females and for good spots of water. Oh, this is interesting. What do we got here? Let's have a look. They've got some vultures. They're flying quite fast and they're dropping. Now, when you see vultures like that, you always want to watch them because they might lead us to a kill. Oh, they could just be coming for a drink of water or trying to catch a thermal. So we want to see if they go land on a tree. Okay, let's keep up with those vultures. Hi, Kingston. I'm just going to drive a bit faster so I can see where those vultures land. Kingston would like to know, is a hippo's main predator a crocodile? It is not, Kingston. A hippo's main predator is actually lions. Crocodiles who live in the water with the hippos actually get killed by hippo if they get too close to the young babies, but a big hippo is far too big even for a very big crocodile. So those vultures are dropping very fast. I wonder if there are lions there. Oh yeah, well, I rushed to see if I can find some lions. Hold on! Let's go see what Byron's up to.
Now we've managed to find a little bird while we're on our walks, and have a look up this little dead branch or the dead tree right at the top. Oh no, there it goes. It's called a dear, it's flown off. It's flown off. So, Mrs. Fredericks class, good afternoon to all of you. Hope you are having a lovely morning. I'm sure, I think it's morning where you are now. And you want to know, are the squirrels that we have like the squirrels you have back home? So they're similar in terms of they're part of the squirrel family, but I think our squirrels in this area, the little tree squirrels we have, are a little bit smaller than the squirrels that you have, but they are very, very similar, and they're all part of the squirrel family. We've got other squirrels in South Africa too, down in Cape Town, down in the southeastern part of South Africa, southwestern part of South Africa, and those squirrels are a lot bigger, and I think some of them have been introduced, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they come from America originally. So those squirrels are very much similar to the ones that you have. Much bigger, slightly red in color. And these little tree squirrels that we get out here, very, very small, and they live in those little holes, perhaps like that little hole in the tree that I showed you earlier. Michaela, you want to know, is it easy to find footprints or tracks in the bush? It's not always very easy, Michaela, but sometimes what we do is we'll come to a big path, something like this that we've got over here, and we'll just walk very, very slowly and carefully and have a look for any signs of animals. Often they cross a road or they'll cross a big path. It might be easier for us to see them. So we do have to look very, very carefully, but yes, it can be possible to find little tracks of animals walking around. Now, something else that I've seen and I managed to pick up then that I wanted to show you was this. Have a look at this beautiful, beautiful little shell. Can you believe that we get a shell like this out in Africa, in the middle of the bush? Now, this shell is from something called a giant land snail, and it's one of the largest snails in the world, or land snails in the world rather. This one unfortunately has died, possibly because of the dry conditions, but judging by the size of the shell, it reached a full adult life, and I'm sure that it probably just died from old age. But isn't it incredible to find a beautiful shell? And after a while, usually the shell is brown when the snail is still alive inside, but after a while it starts turning this white coloration, which is really, really interesting. And sometimes it's because the snails do feed on carrion or dead meat. They might feed on dead meat and sometimes bone, and the calcium and the phosphorus in the shell itself starts turning this white color. Something else that I found that is very interesting is a little dung beetle. Unfortunately, this little dung beetle is dead. Let me show you. And I'm not sure what happened to him. It looks like he's been picked at by a bird, perhaps. Maybe a bird tried to catch and eat him. But most of the shell is still intact, which is very, very interesting. And this is a small dung beetle, but the wonderful thing with dung beetles is we've got many different species. So you do get ones much, much smaller than this, and also ones much bigger. And this is just one, and you can see, actually you can see his head there too. Beautiful dung beetle, and the dung beetles are very, very important for this area. Beetles, the role that they play is to get rid of all the dung from all so probably from elephant or buffalo, all the dung that's left behind. They roll the dung up and carry it away, bury it, and they eat some of the dung because that is all broken up grass. So they're very, very important to have around. And Kaylin, you wanted to know what the snail's predators are. So sorry, Braylon. Braylon, you wanted to know what the predators are for these little snails. Now, a snail like this, probably the only predators would be birds. Large birds that walk around, and if they find them, they'll probably pick at them and break the shell and try eat the snail on the inside. I haven't seen anything else really feed on these giant land snails. You might get other little creatures, maybe a mongoose or something, trying it out, but generally it's birds. So Michaela, you want to know how big can these snails get? Now this is about full grown, maybe a little bit bigger, and you can see against the size of my hand how big this shell is. So that is very, very large, but they can get a little bit bigger. I have seen some that are a little bit bigger, but this is almost full grown. That's almost full grown, just to give you an idea. So it's very, very big for a land snail all the way out in the bush. No, Jordan, not every type of snail will fit into the shell. It's only a species of snail. It's not any different type of snail. Many different snails are found around the world, and they will grow their own shells, and they will grow to different sizes, not always as big as the giant land snail. We're walking in a little bit of a clearing, which is lovely because we get to have a look around a little bit more for perhaps some animals that might be in this area too. And I've got some signs of animals that have been in the area, but quite a long time ago. And this is elephant dung. So this comes from elephant, and I can see that because of all the plant material. So the elephants eat trees and grass and bark, and you can actually see some of the grass in the elephant dung over here. But this is very, very old. This is very, very old, and I'm hoping that we can find some elephants around. Perhaps that would be wonderful. But this is old dung. I don't know exactly how old, but it's very, very dry, and that's a good sign that it's old. This elephant walked past here probably a few weeks ago, not any time soon. And let us continue. And Katie, you want to know why do I carry a stick? It's for safety in case I get into trouble. No, I'm joking. I like carrying a stick, Katie. It's if I find something and I want to point it out to VM maybe, or if I want to lift something up with a stick, it just helps me a little bit, and I enjoy walking with something in my hands. And here's another piece of dung from an animal we might be looking for around here. And this is zebra dung. Have a look at that. Now this is from a zebra. And zebra dung is very easy to identify. It looks, we call the shape, looks kidney shaped almost, or like a bean shape, but it's quite big. Can you see that? And this is from a zebra. And this is also just grass that the zebras feed on. But this, just like the elephant dung, is very, very dry and not fresh at all. Gabriella, you wanted to know, are the elephants vegetarians? So Gabriella, with the animals, we actually use a different term. We say they are herbivores. Now the herbivores, that means that they eat plant materials, so grasses, leaves of trees, bark or branches, all herbivores. We've got many different areas, and the two that we've, or the signs of two that we've seen in this, obviously, which is a herbivore too, but that's where elephant will eat
So we've rushed into the area where all these vultures and eagles have been landing, and we are searching for carnivores, meat eaters. And of course, as Byron was just saying, elephants are herbivores. So there we go, that's a tawny eagle. I don't know whether the vultures got confused when they saw some eagles and they thought, wow, maybe there's a free meal, let's go have a look. But I'm seeing quite a lot of tawny eagles, lesser spotted eagles, and I can't see any kill on the ground. Oh, coming off the ground. What was that? Oh, it's a lesser spotted eagle. It's that dark one. Flying low, going up now. Oh, there's going to be a bird fight. There we go. So that eagle just came off the ground. It's the first lesser spotted eagle I've seen this year. So those are migrants. Raylan is wondering, how do I know what birds are male or female? Well, it's very difficult to tell. Normally female birds, especially in the eagles, are bigger than the males. And that's because they've got to produce eggs and they need more calcium. Michaela is wondering, how do we know if a bird is hunting for prey? Well, Michaela, they are opportunists, so if there's an opportunity they will take it. But what we were looking for now was actually vultures, and they don't hunt, they scavenge. They look for something that's dead and then they land and eat it. But I think the vultures got confused by all the lesser spotted eagles that have just arrived. These guys have come as far from as Mongolia away. So alas, I don't think there's a kill in this area. I think the vultures got confused by all the eagles. Okay, well, let's continue to see if we can find those leopard tracks. Hi, Raylan. Raylan would like to know, what do eagles eat? Well, they eat lots of different things. Scrub hares to rats, mice, insects, snakes, and in some cases even baby antelope or small antelope like that steenbok we saw at the beginning. And they've got a very varied diet. They eat other birds as well. It all depends on the type of eagle. Michaela's wondering, what kinds of eagles do we get? Okay, you ready, Michaela? We'll start with the true eagles, like the ones we've just been seeing. And some of them we only get for 5 months of the year during our summer, like the lesser spotted eagle, the steppe eagle, the booted eagle, the Warburg's eagle. And then our resident eagle species, we have the tawny eagle, African hawk eagle, and brown snake eagle, bateleur, black-breasted snake eagle, martial eagle. Am I missing any eagles? Fish eagle. We're on 11. Have I forgotten one? Possibly a crowned eagle. 12. I think that's about it. About 12 different eagles. Now Gabriella is wondering how big are the eagle's wings. Or again, Gabriel, it depends on which eagle. The Marshall eagle is our biggest eagle and has the biggest wingspan, and that's 2 meters, which is 6'7", 6'8", somewhere around there. So a very big wingspan. That's both sets of wings, and so even bigger than me, and I'm 6'3". Okay, now we're still hoping that we might find a leopard. Marley would like to know, can one type of animal eat the same type of animal? Marley, I think you must be talking like an impala or something. Yes, lions, leopards, hyenas, wild dogs, cheetah can all eat the same type of animal depending on what animal it is. Okay, so we're back to looking for leopard footprints. Now that the chase after the vultures proved to be a bit of a wild goose chase. Oh, no, don't run. Always run, the little guys. There he goes. Another little steenbok. And eagles will eat steenbok from time to time, especially the big ones like the Marshall eagle. Wait, stop there now. You got it? Here we go. So that's not a baby, that's an adult steenbok. It's a little male, we can see his little horns. Now, they can be quite shy, because when you're little, everything wants to eat you, so it pays to be a little bit on the scared side. Now, these little antelope, they don't need water, so they get enough water from what they eat, and if they don't, then they'll dig out tubes and bulbas and get their water from there. They'll also drink dew off the leaves in the early morning, so they never get very dry. It makes them an incredibly hardy species, and they can survive in some of the driest parts of Africa. It's got an itch. Katie would like to know, how can you tell all the different animals from each other? Well, Katie, because they all look different. So the steenbok is small and he's got small straight horns. The impala is bigger, even though he's a similar color, but his horns go out like this, and he's got lighter color on his tummy. I can tell because I've learned the difference between all the different animals, Katie. See, there we go, there's another impala. Now, Michaela says, because if the birds have big wings, does it make them go faster? Not necessarily, Michaela. What those wings are there to do is for soaring. So it makes them fly with using less energy. So they're able to catch wind like a glider, and then they glide instead of flapping all the time. Here we go. You can see the impala's got black stripes on his bum. So that's another way to tell the impala. Bye, impala. We're looking for leopard. Okay, well, we're going to keep moving on. While we do that, let's go see if Byron's found something else on foot.
Now, I was asked earlier about finding tracks in the sand or footprints in the sand. Is it easy? And I found some footprints over here, and I'd like to show you these ones first. Have a look at this. And let me draw a circle around it so you can see. And look at that track. Now, this is from a rather big animal, and one that we do have to look out for when we are walking around. And this is from a buffalo. So a buffalo has walked through here, not just one, been a few of them. And that's quite interesting. Nice to see a buffalo track around here. And then There's another track that I'd like to show you, a very exciting one. Have a look at this. Now, let me draw a little circle around this one. There, look at that. That is a very clear lion track, everyone. So this lion, I think, walked past here yesterday or the day before. This is not a fresh lion track, but it is a beautiful, beautiful lion track, and I'll show you clearly now. You can see this is the back pad of the lion, so the palm of the lion, if you think of it like your hand, that's the back pad over there. And then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 toes. Look at that. So we know this lion was walking that way because of the way the track is facing. But look how big that track is, almost the size of my hand. But this is from a female. Now I can tell it's from a female because it's a lot smaller than a male lion. A male lion's track would be much, much bigger. Probably about that size, much rounder, much bigger than this female's track. But that's a beautiful, beautiful track of a female lion. So that's wonderful. Lovely to see the track. Bianca, you wanted to know if the big cats eat their own babies. No, Bianca, they wouldn't. Especially, lions and leopards, they look after their young very, very carefully. They would never kill or potentially harm their own babies or their own young. Now, with lions within a pride, what happens is you'd have a number of females, and that's a group of lions. It's called a pride of lions. You have a number of females, and usually they all have young or babies at the same time. And what that means is that all the lionesses will try and look after the babies, which is very, very interesting to see. But they know that those youngsters or those babies will potentially then grow up and be part of that pride. So they need to look after them when they're young. So the females would not attack them or harm them in any way, unless they came across lions or babies which were not theirs from other lions, then maybe. But generally the females always look after the young very, very well. And Tristan, you wanted to know how old can lions get? So lions can get to roughly, for females, about 15 to 17 years old. It's usually an average of about 15 years old, which would be old for a lioness. And then the males, they generally on average only get to about 10 or 12 years old, so much less than the females. But that's considered a long lifetime for lions. Let us carry on and see what else we can find. I'm trying to have a look around to see if we can find any more interesting tracks to show you, or footprints of animals that might have walked through the area. Giuliani, you would like to know how many species are there in Africa? Now, Giuliani, animal species alone, there are many, many different. I don't even know the exact number because the species found in other don't get here. Now, if you consider, now this gets a little bit complicated, but what happens is, for example, this area that we are in, okay, let's just take this little part of South Africa that we are situated in. We've got about 7 or 8 different species of antelope, okay? Then we've got animals like elephant, buffalo, we've got zebra, we've got giraffe, then some of the predators, lion, leopard, cheetah. That's already about 15 or so, 15, 16, 17 different species. But then you've also got other little creatures, animals that come out at night that we found. That would take you to over 20 or so species. And then you've got animals like bats, which are also mammals, and there are many different species of those that are found around here. You've got hippopotamus, you've got crocodiles, so a lot of animal species, and so it's very difficult to say, and that's just in this area. Then if you go out into other areas, you get
Well, I'm still trying to figure out where Karula went, and sometimes the best way to do that is to get off the vehicle, get on Shank's pony, get a little bit closer to the ground. So the last I heard, the tracks were supposed to be in this area somewhere, but alas, I can't see them. There has been a tractor down the road today doing maintenance, which can make finding tracks a little bit difficult. But we can always pretend like and think like a leopard. No, can't see her from here. It was worth a try though. So there's a possibility. This is one of the larger areas in Djuma that doesn't have any roads behind the camera, and she does spend quite a bit of time in that area, and apparently the last tracks have gone in there. We have checked the southern boundary, so it might be worth taking a longer walk through that block a little bit later, see if we can find, and maybe she's got a kill up in a tree in that area. Now, Jandre likes falling over termite mounds apparently when he's on bushwalk. So Jandre, when going down termite mounds, try not to fall over. Okay, I've heard about some elephants toying between looking for Karula and the cubs and heading to the ellies. Unfortunately, Jig is still having a bit of problems, but Byron's out there, so maybe let's go look at some ellies. We'll come back and look for Karula a little later. Katie would like to know if the lions walk too much, will their paw pads come off? No, Katie, they're very, very tough, and so they're designed to be able to walk long distances without coming off. Now, Marley's asked actually a very interesting question, is that can a tamed animal become wild? It can, but not truly. So one of the biggest problems that happens is everyone thinks you can take a lion from a zoo or something like that and you just put it into the bush and it'll be fine. It will be fine, and you don't need to teach lions and leopards and things how to hunt. They know instinctively the best way to teach them how to hunt is let them get hungry, and then they will catch something. That's where the problem is, because tame animals have lost their natural fear of man. Normally the easiest thing to eat and the slowest thing out here is us. So the tame animal normally ends up eating a person. The other problem is that there are already lions here. So if you put another lion from a zoo here and he has to come up against one of the wild lions will kill him very quickly. So it is possible, but it's quite difficult. Now, Michaela would like to know, do we see certain animals in certain places? Yes, we do, Michaela. And we look for certain creatures in certain parts. Although you can find the animals anywhere, certain animals prefer certain areas. So certain antelope like dry riverbeds, the cheetah like big open plains to the east of us. And so you do look for certain animals in certain areas. Some animals can be anywhere, like elephant and leopard and lion. You can find them anywhere out here, as well as impala. But Malibu, it's been great having you with us, and we're going to say toodaloo, and hopefully you'll join us on another exciting school drive with a bit more cats next time, hopefully. Bye! Well, welcome back to everyone else. I know you've been sitting with us for the school drives. Now it's time for your questions to get through. Use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or the email address questions@wildearth.tv. We do apologize for the technicals we're having this afternoon. Hopefully we'll get them sorted as soon as possible. But till then, you're stuck with Jandre and I. I don't think too many people are going to complain about that. Jamie said she did see some elephant before her signal got funny down in this area, so we're going to go have a look right now. See if Aubrey was also looking for those elephants. I'm just going to check if he's found them. Aubrey.
Might be a lion log.
Oh, Jandre thinks he's seen a lion log. Orbs, did you find those in Dlov on Skabenga and Lil? Confirm crossing to Chelapan. Copy, thanks. Jean, if this is a log, I might have to find a log to hit you with. What do we think out there, everyone? Has Jean spotted a log? Do we get to beat him with a stick? Or has he actually spotted something? Better be alive. What is it? Dun 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 dun. Not even a lion. What? That's just a big tree, Jean. Lion log. With a lot of imagination, a lion log, but we always have to check out those things because you never know. One day, Jean-Andre might actually spot a lion. Only joking. Of course, Jean-Andre spotted quite a few big cats in his time here. Okay, we're gonna go see if we can find these ellies. While we do that, let's go see what the Byron's plans are for the afternoon.
So we're trying to find an area where we've got some better signal, but it's still very, very hot out here. And but I did manage to find some dwarf mongoose running through the brush. I'm trying to see if we can get a glimpse of them. Let's have a look. I mean, they are a lot more shy when you are on foot. There goes one. Hang on. Vivian, we might see one from here. No, it's running away. They're very, very shy. They don't like us being on foot out here. But there are quite a few of them around. Every now and then we catch a little dark glimpse of a dwarf mongoose running through the brush. And we are in a bit of a thicker area, so we just need to keep our eyes open for any potential animals around. We haven't seen fresh tracks of anything walking through the area. I mean, it was wonderful to see those lion tracks and buffalo tracks, but nothing fresh, nothing very recent. And so while we're walking, we're just still scanning and trying to see also if there's some interesting birds around. It's a nice area, this. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. Some wonderful large trees, a lot of big marula trees, like you can see over here. Oh, they're woodland kingfishers. Just through, and those 3 or 4 trees at the back there, I wonder if you can see them. It's a bit difficult to do the birding on a walk. See if they're still sitting there. Oh, they're just hiding behind some branches. They are sitting there, but I don't think we'd be able to show them to you. And Jarrett, you want to know if we get falcons in South Africa? We do indeed. Now I'm trying to think of all the species of falcons that we get. We get Eleonora's falcon, I think, peregrine falcon, pygmy falcon. What else? I think there's a sooty falcon. I don't have my bird app with me now. What else have we got? That's 4 species. We've got those are 4. Taita falcon. That's 5. There are 5 or 6 species just that I can think of off the top of my head, but we do indeed have falcons down in southern Africa. Some of them beautiful, beautiful birds, or most of them, the falcons. And let's continue through here and see what else we can find. There's some broken branches around here and some stumps. So I'm going to try underneath here quickly. Let's have a look and see if there's anything under these little branches. We might get a little scorpion or nothing. Nothing under there. But I'm not going to give up just yet. Let's see Nope, nothing there. It's kind of a hit or miss while looking under some of these little branches. It all depends on the area. It would help if we had some nice big rocks. You do get a lot of scorpions hiding under rocks and that. Here's some more elephant dung. And some more elephant dung, and we've been looking for elephant, but guess what? Brent, let's go and have a look.
Here we go. That's a tiny little elephant calf and mom. Probably a month or so old. Hello, little guy. I'm hoping they're going to move out into the open. We're going to stick with them. They're in a little bit of a thick area at the moment. And you can see we just missed them having a mud bath. Small herd. Oh, there we go, little one. I'd say probably maybe up to 10 animals in this group. Here comes some more at the back. There's a massive eagle argument going on. You can hear all the very strange calls and whistles. We saw that big group of lesser spotted and tawny eagles earlier. It's amazing sounds. Can you hear them, Jandre? Almost like a dog bark. And then you got that high-pitched, normal sort of raptor call. Just keep watching the sky up there in case we see an aerial battle. But the Ellies are going to be moving out into the open shortly. And we'll stick with them for a little longer. Hello, Mama. Playing with her trunk. Stretch that muscles. Stretch those muscles. And there's the little one. Quite a young female, so probably her first baby. And you can see she's a little bit nervous. But she's okay. See, watch her tail, watch the body language, she's fine. It's okay, Mama. Yes, you're very scary. Okay, let's just turn around. So I seem to be having some radio issues. Look at that little bit. I gotta live fine. Hi, Pete on Periscope. Pete would like to know, what are elephant trunks used for? Well, Pete, they're used for feeding, drinking, breathing. It's their nose. So, but it's a very specially adapted nose. It's got over 100,000 muscles in it, and it's able to pick up things. It's able to pluck things. It's got a prehensile tip, so it's used like a hand. It's used for sucking up to 8 liters of water into, and it can also be used to fling a naughty person into a tree if you get too naughty with the Ellies, but that doesn't happen too often, thankfully. As long as you drive carefully and walk carefully and respectfully around elephants, they normally give us no hassles whatsoever. So I'm just, because she's so hopefully they will walk right up to the vehicle. It's always better to let them choose to let you into their space than force yourself into their space. And if they decide to walk away, then that's also fine. Here we go, that's mom with the baby. There's the little one, little boy. But they're not 100% relaxed, so we're not going to keep pushing them. Now, in situations like this, they're fine at the moment, but if we kept pushing them, they might not be fine in 5 or 10 minutes. I'd rather just let them move off at their own pace. There's no need to put extra pressure on these incredible animals. Okay, just going to walk behind the car. See what I mean about giving them space so they can choose where to go? All I'm going to do is just... And always remember, always important, let the car run for a few seconds before you move. Let them get used to that noise. I'm just going to swing the car round a little bit so we can get a better view of her as she crosses. Here we go. Now Drea is wondering, will an elephant herd ever adopt a calf of another female if she dies? It has been recorded in the past, but it's very, very rare. Normally, if mom dies, that's the end of the road for the little one. Incoming, Jean-Dre. We're getting an evil eye from that young female. Oh, no, there we go. So she's just trying to show us that she's big and tough, and we shouldn't mess with her. Don't worry, we're not going to mess with you. We're very scared. Can't you tell? See there, look at that elephant, look at that tail. You see that very erect tail? Sign that she's slightly uncomfortable. And then see, as she puts distance between herself and us, that tail goes down. But ears are still out. She's giving, there we go, she's down to feeding. Now, quite often with young elephants like that, it's not necessarily that they're very upset, or it's more of a display. I'm a big, tough elephant. Don't mess with me. But in general, there's something about this herd that's telling me that they're not the most relaxed. There is definitely something up. It could be because that mother's a new mother. But just by looking at her, she looks like she's quite young. It could be her first youngster. So they could have been split from a bigger herd, and they're a little bit nervous till they find them again. So while they're relaxed and around us, no problem. But we're not going to keep following them. Don't want to put any extra pressure on them. Pete's saying sometimes he's seen elephants fling mud around. You can see that elephant's done a good job of flinging mud on her head. And it's to cool down. One, Pete, it also gets all the ticks and parasites encased in that mud. And when that mud falls out, the parasites fall out with them. So it's got multiple functions of cooling down and controlling parasites. In front of us, Chandra. There we go. Another young female coming through. And you can see, even though they've chosen to give us a bit of a wide berth, which is no problem, as I said. Certain herds will walk within half a foot of the car, others not so much, and also depends on the day. There we go, here comes the display again. We're very big, we're very tough. And they're also, the way she does it, she's trying to maintain dominance and aggression, but she's also moving away at an oblique angle. So inadvertently, by still looking tough to us, she's actually also creating distance between her and us. So she's angling slightly away from us, and then see, as soon as she's past us, she calms down again. So shame. We're not going to spend any more time with these Ellies. Let's let them move off and carry on. Hopefully we'll find some more relaxed elephants a little later. Wonderful though to catch up with some Ellies. Now for the birders out there, I'm going to try to see if I can go find those eagles that were making all the noise. So, waiting for the bird lists, those who are watching during the school show. Lesser spotted eagle, that should be a new one for a lot of your lists. Okay, I seem to be having some little radio issues again. Comms keep cutting out. Hopefully if I get a little bit higher, that'll stop. Are you getting comms, Andre? Hi, Bill. Bill would like to know, do birds see in colour? Indeed they do, Bill. Now, they do see in colour, and of course, especially it's very important if you're a fruit eater, and you don't want to go eat the wrong red berry, and you might not be around tomorrow. Okay, now, all those eagles are up ahead here. Now, there was a big fight going on. It could be argument over mating rights, but I'm going to get in a position where we can see these eagles. While we do that, it seems like Jigger is fixed and hopefully will be out for the rest of the drive. So let's go say hi to Jamie.
Alrighty, let us try this once again. A very good afternoon to all of you and welcome to the Jigger portion of this Sunset Safari. We do apologize for our prolonged absence. We were busy getting things sorted. This is the first time that Jigger has been out in a while, but luckily Alex has seen to it that she is now up and running. And I thought I'd just stop and show you this utterly adorable little impala lamb. I feel as though all of a sudden they're just everywhere. From struggling to see them to seeing them around every corner, we've just got an explosion in population of tiny, wobbly, very gangly little antelope. And I'm hoping to spend a little bit of time with them this afternoon, watching them playing and scampering about. It could be highly entertaining. And I have to say I'm terribly impressed by the mother's ability also to return to their sleek figures almost straight away. And let's go and see if we can find a few more impala lambs. But before we do that, just in case you missed the start of the Sunset Safari, my name is Jamie, and this afternoon, I have Gert on camera with me. This is when the sun sets, Jamie. That's the afternoon and the evening. Goodness. And we're going to be showing you some exciting things on our Sunset Safari. It's okay, Jigger. I know it's been a while, but I promise you she just feels a little bit off kilter. But we'll get her back into it. Jigger was one of the originals of the Safari Live team, and Jigger sort of went into retirement for a little bit. However, she is back up and running, sort of. Sometimes a little jerkily, but we are back up and running. Much like these little impala lambs that I'm going to show you when we get to the next open spot. Where are you, little one? I saw you dash off here. One thing about them is they're all over the place at the moment, dashing up and down. I see you. You think you're hiding, but I see you. Hiding behind Mom there. Oh. Bye-bye. Wait, Mom. Oops, slightly overshot the mark. I love watching them. They're thoroughly entertaining. It's amazing how all of a sudden they're just everywhere. We've missed a few of the live births. Well, we must have. But at some point, I'm really hoping that we get the opportunity to see one of these little antelope being born. I Okay, I'm going to try one more loop of this area. Hopefully they're going to pop out there and we can watch them play and scamper and learn a little bit before we go off in search of other things to show you. And since we're here, is anybody home? On a day like today, just checking the Wahlberg's nest. That is, have you seen which one is the Wahlberg's nest, Gert? Yeah, thank you. They did actually have two in this tree, and sometimes when we come through, one of the Wahlbergs is sitting on the nest. I think on a day like today, they don't need to be bothered too much with keeping them warm. And in fact, now that it's a little bit cloudier and the sun is not beating down, they don't have to worry about shading their eggs either. Because of course, that's one of the big problems for birds out here. It's not necessarily keeping your eggs warm, it's keeping them cool. Because in the heat of the sun, temperatures are going to go very, very high. And good afternoon, I got it right this time, to Debbie. Speaking about raptors, you wanted to know if one raptor will ever attack another raptor's nest. The only raptor that might do that, and even then it's likely to go for some of the smaller raptors rather than risk attack from the larger ones, is potentially a harrier hawk, just because they are specialized nest raiders. They have learned they've got double jointed legs in order to reach backwards into holes in the trees, and they are specially adapted for nest raiding. That's their diet. Oh, little ones. The little babies are so panicky. Okay, let's try one more time, but if they won't let us get any closer. The females are quite relaxed, but as soon as the babies run, then the adults run. And of course, they've never seen us before. They've never seen anything before. Sorry, Debbie. Distraction by little impala. There's one there. And just to finish off your question, Debbie, even then a harrier hawk is unlikely to attack a raptor's nest. Now, speaking of raptors and birds of prey, these little impala are still small enough, even though they are fast on their feet, they're still small enough to be a potential meal for one particular raptor, and that is the Martial eagle. And there should be some on the right there. There we go. There's a little one. Look. Hello, gorgeous. A Martial eagle is the only animal that is bigger than big enough to actually tackle the little baby impala. Hey, little one. And James Bear, you want to know what is the predation rate of these baby impala? High. I'm still struggling to find an exact percentage, but they are obviously a very easy meal for a great deal of predators out here. Whether it is the Martial eagle, leopards, wild dogs, they are so very vulnerable, although they don't look at the way they're dashing around. Look at that, they're already instinctively stotting, except this little one. This little one's just standing to watch. And they look so terribly thin looking, and that's partly as a result of the dry season. Their moms have done so well to actually bear them to full term, but also just because that's how baby impala are born. They have to sacrifice a little bit of bulk in order to have the long legs, in order to keep up with mom. When mom runs away, their little legs have to be long enough to match her speed. Where have these little dashing creatures gone? Are they still bouncing around in here, or have they stopped? That one stopped as well. See what I mean? They're just everywhere. All these new smells. One of the things that we've been really hoping, as I mentioned earlier, really hoping to see is a birth of one of these impala live. Lionheart, you want to know if the if the female, I'm in school mode still, if the female impala will go off on her own to give birth, or hop, 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 or if she will stay with the rest of the herd for protection. And generally they do move off a little way away from the rest of the herd, and the reason they do that is because of something known as pregnancy hysteria. So with all of the hormones involved during labor and the smells and so on, having a load of impala around her, particularly the rams, who of course we've seen a lot how they've mistaken what's happening at the moment for a sign that the females are coming into estrus, because apparently they can't tell the difference. Now, it's safer for the ewe to go and give birth unharassed, and particularly by a male with something else on his mind. But accidents do happen, so they don't have any, despite what rumors say, they don't have any degree of control over the birthing process. Now, they do occasionally accidentally just they go into labor before they've had a chance to remove themselves from the rest of the herd. And they're usually not too far. Oh, spot the intruder. Not intruder, that's the wrong word. Spot the difference. Nyala have just walked into their midst. You can imagine what it's like. There we go, there's a vast difference in terms of size with the Nyala bull walking in. He's also got something on his mind. He's checking out that female. I'm going to stick around a little bit longer with these little impala just to watch their antics and see if they'll get closer to us. While I do, Brent has found a bird in a tree.
Well, I found the birds. There's the one confused vulture who thought there might be a kill. Now, there's a mixture of two eagle species here. Unfortunately, the clouds come in and it's made it a bit difficult. We just want to look at the back tree. Now, there looks to be tawny and lesser spotted eagle, and I can't see, there might even be a steppe eagle. Fortunately, the light is quite bad at the moment. And so, there we go. In the middle there, that's the lesser spotted. Up top, looks to be a tawny, and there's another lesser spotted to the left, and bottom also looks to possibly be a tawny, and there's a hooded vulture to the left, sorry. So there we go, another confused vulture, and there were battaliers, vultures, there was all sorts around. Okay, well, let's keep going. I just heard a report from Jamie. Jamie, confirm which side you're going to approach that from. Copy, I'll go further down towards Chelepan, give you a hand. So Jamie's got monkeys alarm calling, which is a great sign. Monkeys don't lie. When they start going, they're saying either lion or leopard. So let's get down there. Jamie's going to check from that side. We're going to go a little bit further to the south and check backwards. Because monkeys' eyesight's very good. They can actually see from quite far. So who knows? Maybe the queen is about. So while Jamie and I descend towards where the monkeys are alarm calling, hopefully our pincer movement will produce a big cat. Let's go see what Byron's up to on foot.
So while Brent follows up on those monkeys, I've come to have a look at a beautiful silver cluster leaf, but what I've found very interesting, this section of it has been eaten and fed on by termites and beetles and bugs. But what's interesting is at the moment there's a whole bunch of little millipedes hiding in this bark, in this tree. Now this is very, very interesting. There's one over there, and I'll have a look. I can show you over here. Look, there's a whole bunch in there too. That's very interesting. I don't know why they're all up here. Now, my theory, though, is we've spoken about this before. And some cultures believe, and they believe that these little millipedes are a good sign that there's potentially going to be rain. And what they do is, if they do sense rain, they'll climb up on top of little trees, and they'll hide on the branches. And I wonder if these millipedes can't sense rain at the moment, because if you have a look, there's a lot of cloud cover, the wind is building up, and I'm assuming that perhaps there might be rain on the way, and maybe that's why these millipedes have all gone into that silver cluster leaf and they're hiding in the bark of the tree. Thought I could hear some birds alarm calling, but I think it's just the camp. Oh, hang on, he's stuck there. There we go. VM just getting a bit stuck with his antenna. Now we've come out onto the clearings not far from camp again. It's always wonderful to walk around here because there's a lot of interesting things going on. I thought I saw something in this silver cluster leaf earlier. Let's have a look. There it is. I think from here, Virmi might have a good view. And have a look at this. This is interesting. A little piece of sand ball. From this angle, you might be able to see it. Have you got it there? Now have a look at that. That's built by wasps. Species of wasp where they take soil and they build their nests out of the sand up against branches, sometimes against buildings and that too. You get different species of wasps that do that. And these ones build these round little nests up against branches in trees, and that's built from a wasp. Isn't that interesting? Very, very interesting. It's amazing, and I mean that's really, really high. We can hardly see it, but there are amazing little creatures that build nests and homes in trees, and you only really get to see it if you look very, very carefully, and if you're out walking around looking for these little creatures. And let's continue through the clearing and see what other interesting little things we can find. I'm thinking with all this wind, however, all this wind that's picked up, we're probably going to see a lot fewer insects flying around or like we saw earlier. Earlier we had a lot of little grasshoppers and so on jumping about, but at the moment I don't see many of them. And I think it's got to do with the weather changing. The humidity is definitely picked up, but the temperature has dropped slightly from earlier this afternoon. You know what, there's a wonderful broken stump in front of us. Let's go and investigate there. Maybe we see some more creatures trying to take shelter in the bark of this tree. This is from this big marula tree that this stump has fallen off, this branch. This could be quite interesting. Let's have a look here. It looks like a lot of activity. Wow, I'm just going to lift this a little bit, but look at that. That's all done by termites. Look how they've broken down this huge, huge branch. It's incredible. Now I'm having a look. I don't see any activity of creatures on the surface, but it's amazing how much soil is packed around this area, all by the termites. Very, very interesting, and network of tunnels all burrowing underneath and breaking down this dead plant material, and obviously that is the role of the termites. Nothing under there though, but let's have a look. It's always interesting just to really scan carefully and have a look. You might get, you do get little creatures like centipedes and scorpions, as we've seen in the past, all trying to live and hide in these areas. Now have a look at this. This is interesting, and I think this is signs of another animal. Have a look in here, and I don't want to stick my finger in there, but you can see little rings. Can you see that? Now those are the rings of millipedes and broken up millipede bodies. And what I think has happened is scorpions, or a scorpion, has been busy feeding on millipedes inside there. And I think that's what is caused all those little rings. What happens is they feed on the body itself. They don't really feed on the exoskeleton, so the exoskeleton remains are left behind. You sometimes see it with civets. Civets, when they eat, or in the dung, you'll often see little rings of the exoskeleton of the millipedes. But I think what this is exactly that. Scorpions have been feeding on millipedes inside there, or a scorpion, and that's what's caused that. Isn't that interesting? Okay, we're going to continue our search through the clearing, see if we can't find the actual insects that are leaving these signs behind. Let's head back to Jamie and get an update from her.
Well, last time you saw me, I said that I would be sticking with the impala herd to see whether or not they came closer, and I got completely distracted by the alarm calls of a troop of monkeys that are in what we call the Mulwati, which is a big sort of dry riverbed that runs right through the center of Djuma. And I found the monkeys, and it wasn't quite the proper frantic call that they give when there's a leopard in the area. It was one of them just sort of half-heartedly going, oh, well, I don't know how to do that particular call. Gert, how's your monkey impression? And inevitably end up sounding a lot like Donald Duck. But when I did get down into, because I jumped off the car and I went sort of walking at a very rapid pace. I wasn't running, but I was walking relatively quickly into the drainage to see whether or not there was a leopard hanging out there. And when I did get down there, they immediately came down the tree and ran along the ground away from me, which almost immediately tells me that it's not a leopard. If it were a leopard in the area, they would be all frantically looking in that area. But let's keep checking this drainage line anyway, just in case they have popped out somewhere here. Now, all the way along this wall, we're going to be checking out down into this dip. Let's go nice and slowly and see if we can't spot at least the monkeys that were alarm calling. No, that sounded like Donald Duck again. No, that was, I don't know what that was. There were also some very, very relaxed looking Inyala. Okay. No sign of them there. Let's go and see if we can't catch up with them on the other side of the drainage line. Or riverbed, depending on which terminology you want to use. Come on, Jigger. You can do it. Oh, there we go, girl. Must feel nice for old Jigger to be back on the road once again. She is, of course, a car and therefore inanimate, but, you know, we spend so much time with them, it becomes almost automatic to think of them as not just a thing. Right, where was I? I know where I was on that side. These monkeys must be somewhere. See if I can spot the Inyala, then I'll know where the monkeys were. Must have been round about here. Where are you hiding, little monkeys? Now, monkeys are incredibly sharp-eyed, and they're usually a very useful animal when it comes to finding other animals like leopards and lions. I mean, we enjoy them just for the sake of finding monkeys, and that's why I'm trying to find them now. But I think that that particular monkey was probably alarm calling at a snake. Or a no, not a slender mongoose, it would have been a snake. Slender mongoose definitely not be a threat to monkeys. I'm thinking of squirrels. A snake or a bird of prey, but I didn't see a bird of prey coming through. No, sorry. They've all gone to ground right in the dried up riverbed. Okay, so the search to break the cat streak continues. We spoke this morning about what could count. We said definitely little cats, wild cats, serval, caracal, you never know. Something like that would definitely count as towards our cat streak, our unbroken, as until today, unbroken cat streak, but the clock is ticking to find one before the time runs out on our sunset safari. We were nearly on day 80, big round number. But we did have a long and involved discussion about what counts as a cat. Kit Kat, for example, was one suggestion. Caterpillar. What was the other one? The catamaran, I think, is probably unlikely. Kit Kat, I said. Caterpillar, I said. There's one other that is actually within the realms of possibility. A cat. Meerkat. Oh no, that's not within the realms of possibility at all. That's very unlikely. Unless that meerkat is very lost. Meerkats, of course, are the desert relatives of the mongoose. Well, since there's no big cats, let us... flew away. Animals have gone into hiding today. I wanted to show you a starling, but it flew away. And good afternoon to Elaine. Speaking of birds that make calls, of course they make calls, you want to know which one says, "I'm so sad." And that, Elaine, is the black cuckoo. And in my frantic swap into Jigga, I have unfortunately left my bird book in Wendy. I'm sorry about that. I would show you a picture, but I will attempt to do my best impression. Why are you all alone? Now I've got sorry, Elaine, I'll do the cuckoo call for you in a moment. Are you going to have a baby, by any chance? You are going to have a baby, but are you going to have one now? Hi, girl. She is on her own, and she is panting, but I mean, it is boiling hot this afternoon, and her pregnancy has dropped. In other words, she's no longer carrying it as high as they do. Oh, look at her. She's so wide. We might even have a chance to see baby moving if we look closely. A big girl. Shame. Must be utterly exhausting. And I don't know if it's my imagination, but the impala seem to walk around with their tails tucked over themselves as if to try and keep the baby in for as long as possible. Ah. There's a chance. There is a chance that impala ewe is looking for a safe place to give birth. Her water hasn't broken yet. There's no sign of any wetness on the tail or down the legs. So her water hasn't broken yet, but there's a good chance with that level of bulging, essentially, and the fact her pregnancy has dropped slightly. I think there's a chance that she's gone off to find herself a nice safe space to have a baby. And whilst most births occur in the morning, it is entirely possible that they will happen in the afternoon or the early evening as well. Right, Elaine, your cuckoo. Ooh, that was a bit of a shaky one. And I'm so sad bird, except we've changed it now to I'm so glad. Or maybe I'm so fab. No, I don't know. But that is the black cuckoo. And if we ask Brent nicely, while he is in the Mulwati drainage line, as I know he is, he might have a look for you, because that's where they all are. Oh, speaking of looking for things, of course, the best way to do that is on foot. Let's go over to Byron and see what he's found for you.
And look at this little caterpillar that we've just found. I wonder what larvae this is for. And a beautiful little caterpillar. Right out in the clearing. It needs to be careful of birds. If birds see this little caterpillar walking around, they'll try and catch it, feed on it, especially hornbills. And some other species of birds, but we know, and especially the cuckoos. The cuckoos do love caterpillars, especially those hairy caterpillars that we do find on the sides of trees often, branches, and especially off these terminales, you do get a lot of hairy caterpillars there, and those cuckoos love feeding on them. But this little guy needs to watch out for any birds around here. Beautiful color. can see the coloration of the head and the tail, and that's most likely to confuse predators. And I'm sure that if it was threatened, it would most likely move the tail so that the predator would think that is where the head is, and it might still be able to get away if just the tail is attacked. Purely coloration to confuse predators. Now, something else that's very interesting that we found over here is, and a lot of these clearings around, so I'm just having a look, the grey go-away birds seem to be calling. I don't think it's an alarm call at all. I think they're just calling at one another. But in these clearings, and we've spoken about it many times in the past, there's a lot of sign of little villages that used to be in these areas and little homes. And I found another sign that I find fascinating. And what's happened is, you can see there's a hard, actually a very smooth rock or stone underneath the soil here. Now, what this would have been from is there would have been a little house or a hut around here, and the ladies would have had this rock outside the house, or the stone, and it would have been hollowed out slightly, and what they would have done is they probably grew some crops in the area, perhaps corn or maize, and what they would do is bring that home, and then they'd put it on this, basically a grindstone. They'd put it down, get another big stone, and they'd crush and grind all of that on this very smooth rock, and that has caused it to become incredibly smooth. And I wish you could feel it right around the edge here. It is so smooth. So I'm assuming there's a massive rock underneath the soil, which it's been covered with soil over the years, but there's a massive rock, a smooth rock under there that they would have used to grind down the food and use that to cook. Eventually the food that they ground down, they would have used that to cook with and prepare meals for the family. Something called millipap was a staple diet, or still is a staple diet. What it is, it's ground corn, and what they do is they grind it down and then they cook it and boil it in water, and you get this it's like similar to a polenta almost. That's the best way to describe it. Very fluffy and soft, and then they would perhaps try and make a sauce with it, or just eat it like that. And that is a staple diet still to this day in Africa. The millipap, or the maize, the ground maize, ground corn. So very interesting. It's wonderful to find little signs like that around. And the little caterpillar, let's continue and see what else we can find. Again, I'm trying to look in the bark of some of these trees, just because of that, those millipedes that we saw all hiding in there. I'm assuming that maybe if we keep looking around, we might find some other insects that are looking for shelter in the trees or in the bark of trees. So let's have a look around here. What have we got? More caterpillars, there we go. Wow, and look, there are plenty of them on here. These look almost, they look similar to a Mopani worm. I don't think they are Mopani worms, but they do look very similar. But it's amazing how many of them are all on this tree at the moment. Here's a nice big one. Look at this view. And Paula, the red under the caterpillar, those are its legs. That's exactly what that is. What worms? Look at that. And I think it's trying to mimic something over there. Perhaps to try to prevent predators, and it probably sees us as a predator, so maybe trying to mimic something over there, moving fairly quickly so that we don't disturb it. Incredible colors, and I can't believe how many of them are here all over this tree. And again, I wonder if it's not a case of them trying to stay away, or perhaps predicting rain and trying to stay high up on the trees. I found another interesting little bug. It's amazing when you get to these some of these trees what you can find, and just what I expected. Hopefully with the change of weather, there's possibly a lot more activity now. Oh, it's gone. There's a beautiful little green beetle that was sitting on the leaf, and as I looked away, it flew off. So it is gone. Let's see if we can't find something else. There's something. And look at this, a little pupa of sorts. And look at that completely hollow pupa. Now this would possibly have been from a little butterfly or a moth, I think. That's left the pupa behind. Interesting. Isn't that great? Nice to see these little creatures. Alright, now I know Brent was trying to follow up on Monkey's alarm calling. Let's head back to him and see if he's had any luck.
Welcome, welcome. Now that is an interesting item, if I've ever seen one. Are we going to make it? No, obviously they haven't finished with it yet. It still needs to be shaped. Are we going to get stuck? Are we going to get stuck? Nah. Now, yes, those monkeys alarm calling. Jamie went for a walk into the block, had a look, and they ran down the tree, which means it's probably not left. There might have been a snake in the area. So I've made my way back towards where Karula was keeping the cubs, just in case they were very well hidden this morning. I'm going to do a quick look on Leadwood Road, then I'm going to come back to the spot, and I'm going to take a walk straight down. If there's no sign of them there, I'm hoping to get a better idea from, if I find their tracks, which direction Karula led them out, which will make a big difference in our job in terms of finding them. Oh, the cat streak is in threat. Oh, apparently the gremlins have decided to come onto our vehicle, so let's go across to Jamie.
Okay, well, Bent battles through a tricky signal area. I did find you some impala ewes and their lambs, but unfortunately this afternoon, and I think it's the build-up or potential build-up of the storm that is threatening, and the wind is blowing, the wind is howling. We were talking about impala lamb predation rates earlier and saying that they are on quite a few things menu, and just because of that they are exceptionally nervous little creatures. They're constantly, even more so than the adults, they are constantly on alert, constantly spooking at the slightest rustle of leaves or crack of branches. They're immediately up and running, and the females just run with them. There's another one. Let's stop really far away and see if that helps. Or not. These little guys are just everywhere at the moment. I'm dashing off after Mum. I'm pretty sure that she's part of this herd that we've just come past, so she's become separated from them. Quite possibly she even left to go and give birth to that little one, because there's a significant difference between an impala lamb that's a few days old and an impala lamb that is only a few hours old. The size difference is immediately apparent. Let's see if she'll let us get any closer. Otherwise, we shall keep moving on and go and see whether anything's coming to Buffelshoek Dam after the blisteringly hot day. Perhaps something might want to come and have a drink at a waterhole. Oh, luckily we've got really subtle brakes to keep us company. I think the other reason that they're nervous is there is another dead buffalo just off to my right, and they can probably smell it because I can smell it. And that will also be making them nervous, because then they don't know if perhaps there's lions. It's probably a smell that they associate with the lions of this area. Little one. Legs flying all over the place. And off they go. See how agile they are for something so little, or so young at least. Incredible agility, jumping over every obstacle. You never see an impala lamb fall down. very good afternoon to Ashley, who'd like to know, because of course Brent was talking about the difference in our water-dependent versus water-independent antelope, and the fact that little steenbok can get the moisture that they need. And you are absolutely spot on in terms of their anatomy. So Ashley suggested that she thought that the difference in anatomy might be to do with their kidneys. It is. There's a couple of different adaptations that various antelopes show. One of the big things, actually, before we go into the kidneys, one of the big things is size. Just because the smaller you are, the less water you need, the less food you need, and so on. The other difference, just in terms of all animals, is their digestive system and what they're adapted to eat. So impala and other water-dependent antelope don't dig up tubers, which are often very, very high in water content. So their diet is different, and for all ruminants, they tend to be less water dependent than something like an elephant or a buffalo that eats huge amounts of food, and they have to process it. Obviously, a buffalo is a ruminant, and an elephant is a hindgut fermenter, but a lot of that water is needed to process huge amounts of food. So size is a big difference. But then, of course, you get antelope in the Kalahari, like Gemsbok, that are absolutely massive. And that, like the steenbok, is where the difference comes in. And that's actually what you thought about with the kidney. The part of the kidney that is specially adapted is in the nephron. And essentially what happens, obviously, with your, and it's quite complicated to go into, but in terms of concentration gradients and so on, the liquid from your blood is absorbed by the kidneys in the nephrons and processed and then released back into, some of it will be released back into waste. But there's a special part of it, each and every single nephron, which is a tiny specialized tiny specialized part of the kidney, and there's millions of them. The loop of Henle is quite literally a loop that moves through different salt concentrations in the kidney's tissue. And in the loop of Henle, that is where the reabsorption of the water happens. So the reabsorption from the nephron back into the blood. And animals that live in areas that are arid tend to have, or are not as water dependent, tend to have much longer loops of Henle, so that more water absorption can take place. So you are spot on. It is in the kidney, and it is in the loop of Henle in the nephrons of the kidney that the water reabsorption takes place. So it's just that much longer. And when you've got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of nephrons, even the smallest micrometer of an extra length will make a difference in terms of how much water you can reabsorb. And then there's a couple of other tricks that antelopes have, one of which is like the Gemsbok or the oryx. They've got a cooling structure in their nasal cavities, that the blood that's going to the brain, that would usually be able to tell the brain how hot you are, their bodies actually trick their brain and trick the hypothalamus of the brain into thinking that they're cooler than they are, because cooled down blood runs right next to the blood going to the brain, and it cools that blood down. And then that blood goes to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus thinks the animal is cooler than it is, and therefore doesn't waste too much energy attempting to cool the animal down. It's a little bit more complex than that, because obviously the animal can't get too hot either. But it is adapted in different ways, and in that way it doesn't waste any water. Sure. And wind has come out of nowhere. No wonder the animals are so nervous. My hat nearly went flying. Oh, stunning. I'm hoping, don't go too far. Oh, drat. There they come. There goes one there. Let's just see where they land, if they land. It's a pair of African hawk eagles. And there comes, there you're gonna go. Just trying to see, watch them before they land. Okay, let's try there. Let's go and see if we can't catch up with the African hawk eagles. Birds, of course, are particularly good at conservation of water because they don't urinate. Now, speaking of birds and doing the different bird calls, Jean would like to know about a bird that is known as the ghost bird and wondering what the actual name is. And And Jean, the ghost bird is known as, its official name, English name, is the grey-headed shrike. The grey-headed bush shrike, sorry. So it's one of the more, there we go. It's one of our more secretive birds. Sorry, these are my favorite raptors. And Jean, I'm going to do the call for you in a second, and I'll explain a little bit more, but I just don't want us to miss this opportunity. It's there on that dead tree, Gert. I don't know if you can see at the back there. Perfect, thank you. For some reason, African hawk eagles are definitely in my top 5 favorite birds of prey. You always see them in pairs. I can't see the second one, but I know that it's there. I saw them both come in together. And they're especially adapted at hunting birds from the air in pairs. So one will fly high and one will fly low. And together they will ambush particularly guinea fowl and francolin. You can see the feathers all the way down to the feet, making it a true eagle. And the name hawk eagle just comes from the fact that it is an eagle that has a hawk-like shape to it. But it is a true eagle. You can hear the squirrel. Actually, you probably can't because the wind is howling so much that we can't turn up our ambience. But there is a squirrel alarm calling at the presence of one of their most dangerous avian predators. Their small size makes them particularly agile. They're not bulky birds like martial eagles built for taking down properly big prey. There he goes, or she. Seems like she went right down to the ground there. Might go and investigate. And before I do, our ghost bird. Oh, my whistles are wobbly today. And the reason it's called a ghost bird, or spookvoël in Afrikaans, is because you hear them, and it's quite a haunting low whistle that just sort of comes from one vague direction, and they're usually so shy so you don't actually see them, you just hear them, hence the name spookvoël, the combination of their secrecy and the fact that they've got such a haunting whistle to them. So it's the grey-headed bush shrike. As I said, I've been totally silly and left my bird book, otherwise I would show you a picture, so I'm sorry about that. Silly mistake to have made. I was rushing to swap everything around onto Jigger. I'm just going to go and investigate and see if I can't see what our lovely hawk eagle pair is up to. While we do, let's go across to Byron, find out what he's up to.
There's a lot of cloud cover around here, and we found something quite interesting in this beautiful big apple leaf tree. Wonderful, wonderful tree. And I'll tell you a story about that shortly, but have a look in here quickly. And it looks like a lot of millipede little shells again. Remember I spoke about how scorpions and that often eat them, and sometimes civets, and maybe a genet, but usually civet love feeding on these millipedes, but I think this is probably from a scorpion that's left these little millipede shells behind, all the exoskeleton. And then have a look at this inside here. A little egg. Now I don't know what that egg is from. Tiny, tiny little egg. Very interesting. Just the one though, I don't see any others, so perhaps what happened, maybe a few eggs were laid in there and whatever it was hatched out of there and moved off, and maybe that little egg didn't survive or wasn't incubated correctly, but I'm not sure what it is. I don't know. But very interesting to see how this apple leaf, this section, I think what possibly happened is a large branch would have been off of this side and it broke off and left part of this tree exposed, and animals have been using it as shelter and as a home. I just wanted to have a look over here. Alright, Jim, sorry, I was just getting your question there. And Jim, you want to know, and we can see a lovely termite mound here, you want to know are all the termite mounds in an area linked to a large termite mound, and is there one queen in that large termite mound, and all the other termite mounds are satellite mounds which feed through and support that large one? No. Each termite mound is an individual termite mound. There will be a queen inside there and its own colony. So they are completely separate. They will not be part of another termite mound or linked to it. There will be a queen, there will be soldiers, there will be workers all within this termite mound, and that's it. So, but there are different species of termite mounds, or species of termites, which build different termite mounds. So some will be much larger than others, and others will be really small. Some don't build termite mounds at all. I saw something else hanging over here that I'd like to show you. I'll have a look at this. This is interesting. There is a pupa of sorts from a little insect that's been left there, and that is actually from a cicada bug. And usually what happens is the cicada bug then crawls out of that and flies off. So it starts as a little beetle of sort, or it looks like a beetle, but it's a bug. It's not part of a beetle family at all. And then this cicada then forms this pupa, and what happens is it attaches itself to a branch and then eventually makes its way out of that pupa stage and flies off as the cicada bug, which we're so used to. So we are so used to hearing. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe the difference between bugs and beetles. Sure, what is the I've absolutely been stumped now by my own comment. I don't know. I don't know what the difference between beetles and bugs are. Beetles generally have a hard carapace, and I think a lot of the beetles that we do get around are winged. Some of them, not all species, but some of them are winged. I don't know. I'm stumped, completely stumped. I have no idea. I'll have to look that up and find out for everyone what the difference between a beetle and a bug is. But the cicadas are bugs. A lot of people refer to them as beetles, though. And I think I'm going to go and try and read up on the cicadas, or not the cicadas, but the difference between the bugs and the beetles that we get in this area. I hope you've enjoyed our walk this afternoon. It's been nice and cool now, which is great. So we're going to say goodbye from myself and VM. Really hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you all tomorrow. I'm going to head back to Brent for an update. Bye, everyone.
Karula keeps flummoxing us, but we have spotted a pretty birdie. Where is he? He's not being the nicest pretty birdie. He's walking, going, gone. He's gone. And he might pop out to forward a little bit. No, he's gone again. He's through that gap. Oh dear. There's a black-bellied bustard, but unfortunately he skedaddled behind the bush. Let's see if we can get a view from this side, possibly. There he is. He's there. There we go. Yep. Oh, he's being a very tricky bastard, this one. I nearly said another word, but of course that's not the bird. There he is. Gotcha. Yes, it's a shy bastard. Looks like a female. So of course the males have that wonderful champagne pop cork call. And I can't hear any males calling to impress this lady. She's all unattached. Maybe that's why she's so nervous. Oh, bye-bye. So, we have literally tried almost well, I'd say probably 70% of the roads in Djuma looking for Karula today. No such luck. The mating pair, or not there, well, we haven't seen the mate, but the pair of lions, Amber Eyes and Mfumo, have been found in Buffalo's Hook, which is also not great news for us. So I'm trying to think, what is our last hope? Will Queen Karula arrive at the end of the day to save the cat streak? Or will it be over? Will we have to start again? We all knew this day was coming, especially with the rains. The more it rained, the likelihood of our cat streak coming to an end became very, very probable. I haven't checked the top part of Central Road today. And just an interesting update for you guys about the Nkuhumas. They are on the Sibambili Elephant Plains cut line, so very, very far to the west from our boundary. But Tingana, when he was last seen around Red Dam, so there's a possibility he might move as it gets cooler towards Djuma, so we might go check around the Gowrie Gate in that area. So apparently Jamie was trying to show you, oh, there's a cuckoo. Some birds, and as we said that, let's have a look. How's that, Jandre? Should be, he's there. There we go. Oh, African or European cuckoo, Jandre? African, are you sure? So there we go, we can teach Jandre about cuckoos and we can all learn together. So the African and European are extremely similar looking, but there's a very distinct difference to do with the bill. Now if we look carefully at the bill and see it's quite a dark bill. And I'm waiting to see. Jandre, you want to have another guess? No. Are you sure? No. No? Is all I'm getting is no? No, no. Okay, so it was. Oh, has he flown? Mm-hmm. Alright, so that was actually the first European cuckoo of the season that I've seen. So if we look at the African cuckoo, it's got 50%, almost 50% of the bill is yellow with the black tip, and if we look at the European, the black extends way further down. So there we go, first European cuckoo for me of the season. I haven't heard them because they don't call here, but I'm pretty sure they've been around. We just haven't looked at too many. So there we go, European cuckoo. Now Jamie was talking about, oh, was it lesser grey shrike? I think was one of them, and she forgot her bird book in Wendy. Oh, a black cuckoo. Well, we were on the cuckoos. Now, the black cuckoo has got that wonderful call, I'm so sad. And you can see why it indeed, let me do it this way, why indeed it's called a black cuckoo. Because it's black. So there we go. And they've got that wonderful mournful call. And then the shrikes. There we go, shrike, shrike, shrike. Lesser grey shrike that Jamie was talking about. There we go, they should be arriving soon. Alright, it seems like Final Control is a little confused. It is not the lesser grey shrike. We have seen them once on camera before. They are a sort of uncommon migrant, but it seems like Jamie was actually talking about a bush shrike, which is a different family, and of course. Here we go, let's find them now. Oh, wrong way. The ghost bird, which is the grey-headed bush shrike. A very pretty bird. We saw one on the Sunrise Safari very briefly. A very heavy bill, and an orange breast, and that very prominent grey head with a yellow eye. So there we go, the grey-headed bush shrike. Very different from the lesser grey shrike, but hopefully we will see a lesser grey shrike this rainy season. Well, there's not much of a sunset tonight with all the cloud around, but Jamie has managed to find a gap, so let's go have a look.
to laugh at that. I managed to find some sunset. I did manage to find some sunset for you, and I happen to think it's quite dramatic in its own way. The build-up of the storm to the west that I don't think is actually going to happen. I don't think we're going to get any rain, but I think that's a beautiful sunset, don't you? Let's stop for a moment and just take it in. Beautiful. And the thick, dramatic clouds scudding across the sky in these high winds. Judy, you wanted to know whether or not if I know whether other parts of the park have been as fortunate as we have in terms of rain. Some of them have been even more fortunate than we have been. I know that to the south at Crocodile Bridge, which is one of the southernmost points of the Kruger, they had well over I think it was a good 70 to 100 mil rain a couple of weeks ago. So they've had quite a bit, which is good because the south was actually looking the worst I've ever seen it in many, many, many years. In terms of the central Kruger, we were a little bit luckier in the beginning, but they've also caught up with us in terms of the amount of rain that's fallen. And then the north, of course, somewhat conversely to the normal sort of rainfall patterns, actually was in a much better state to begin with. So the north of the Kruger, Shingwedzi and further north from there had actually had far more rain than the south had, which is unusual because it's usually much drier up there. But it seems as though the topsy-turvy weather conditions had actually benefited the animals in those parts of the park. A lot of the areas of the sand, to be more specific, in the Sabi sand, initially didn't have any rain, and that was why we were seeing buffalo herd after buffalo herd after buffalo herd on Djuma, and elephants around every corner. And that was just a few months ago. It was about 2 or so months ago, after we had our first big rainfall on the 18th of September, because it was David's birthday, and he guessed the day right when it was going to rain, so I remember exactly when it was. Whereas the rest of the Sabi sand actually had nothing. Arathusa had very little. The southern parts of the Sabi sand were still looking almost desert-like. And there was Djuma, this little green oasis, sitting in the middle. So we were fortunate there, but the rest of the sands, it seems as though it has caught up with us. On these boiling hot days like today has been, these storms often build up, and on a normal summer's day, they should be breaking and dumping a couple of mils of rain on us every day. Not every day, but every couple of days. And that's just not quite what has happened this year as well. And of course it didn't happen at all last year. And the storm that's built has gone off. It's blowing straight off to the north. So I don't think, unfortunately, it's going to mean any rain for us. But let us move on now that we've taken the opportunity to take in the atmosphere. I hear you were talking about cuckoos with Brent. I saw something really unusual this morning, and unfortunately I didn't have any signal, nor... Oh, jigger. Sorry. Let's just see where that hornbill's going. I got distracted by a hornbill that's going to a nest. Definitely taking food back. Unfortunately, it's gone right into the dense vegetation off to my right. This morning I saw something unusual. I didn't have any signal, nor in fact did I have the reflexes. Hello! Hi, little guy. I'll tell you what I saw in a moment, but I have to stop first for this. Oh, but you are cute. Now I'm not so jealous of Steph anymore. In fact, I'm pretty thrilled with our little rapidly escaping tiny, 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 tiny little tortoise. Hello, little leopard tortoise. I'm just going to give you a perspective of it, how big it is. Don't run away. Oh, it's highly mobile. It's highly mobile. Hi, little one. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. How cute is this? Look at it next to my hand. And actually, the little ones are usually quite comfortable with us. Let's see if it'll do it. Yeah. Hi! Oh, you are so cute! find little baby tortoises absolutely irresistible. This one's probably about a year old. Just by the way, it is not a newly hatched tortoise, but it's absolutely minute. Isn't it cute? Off it goes, racing along. Bye. Cat, jealous anymore. Cat, how big was the Steph? About the same size. Bye, little guy. Sorry, that was the reason for the high-pitched and very abrupt halt while I was driving along. I'm going to be constantly aware of what's in the road in front of you. I'm just going to reposition and then we can talk a bit about tortoises. And then I'll tell you what it is I saw this morning. I love tortoises. I have a distinct fascination with them. I think it's the expressions on their faces. Now, as we watch our little tortoise beetle off at high speed, those of you who've been watching for a long time will know that we of course have a policy of not picking up tortoises or harassing them in any way, and that we stand by. And you'll notice that I didn't pick him up there. I just put my hands in front of him to see if he would walk over them, which he did. And the young tortoises are usually a little bit more trusting than the adults. Now, we didn't stress it out in any way. It was just like one little extra obstacle to climb over, just to give you a really nice perspective of a scale. Where are you going? Look at the little tail. I got asked this morning if tortoises have tails. They do. And there's one sticking out at the back there. Male tortoises have slightly longer tails than females, and that tells me that this is probably a little female. She's got long years ahead of her before she reaches her. Well, of course, tortoises keep growing throughout their lives. Oh, whoopsie. Everything's a very big obstacle when you're very small. Even a stick. Luckily, she's built like a tank and is pure determination. Where are you going? I've lost her in real life. Where did she go? Oh, I see her now. Bree, you wanted to know how big tortoise eggs are when they are laid. Bree, I'm actually not 100% certain. I think it very much... I would have thought it would... No, sorry, that's not true. The number of tortoise eggs depends on the size of the female, not the size of the tortoise eggs itself. I'm going to guess and say they are probably roughly the size of that buffalo weaver's egg that I showed you a couple of days ago. And I'll indicate with my hand roughly how big, or maybe just a little bit smaller than that. I'll indicate with my hand how big I think a tortoise egg is. Probably around that big. Reptiles tend to lay bigger eggs for their body size than birds necessarily do. So maybe about that big, but I'm not 100% sure. I really honestly don't know. I'm just thinking in terms of turtle egg size. Turtle eggs are about so big when they lay them, and a tortoise, a sort of reproductively ready female leopard tortoise is much, much smaller than a turtle. So I'm thinking maybe something like that. But I'm not 100% certain. I can tell you that the usual size is around 6 to 20, depending on the size of the tortoise. This morning I guessed at around 20. I went and double-checked that it is between about 5 to 20 eggs that a little tortoise will lay. Let's just watch it before it disappears, just because it's such a fantastic little thing. Now, David, we tend to think of reptiles as something very primitive, when in fact they are kind of the opposite. Just because they look like dinosaurs doesn't mean that they necessarily are. You want to know what it is that makes them live so long. I think one of the big things will be quite a slow metabolism. Just in general, the snakes, the lizards, they tend to be relatively long-lived animals. But I see what you're asking, because of course a tortoise can live 70, 80 years, particularly a leopard tortoise. I don't know, David, I'm not sure. Slow growing, slow metabolism, I'm not sure. But very, very good question. And I'd love to see if there's any sort of suggestions about why it is that tortoises live so long. Crocodiles, of course, can live for decades, and so can some of the largest snakes can live for a good few years. Very good question, and not one that I know the answer to. And hello to a grumpy old man, and yes, very valid point. I should probably have washed my hands after touching the tortoise. You want to know if they carry salmonella? They can. They're not particularly hygienic animals, and you'll notice I'm particularly reluctant to touch recently deceased tortoises. I don't mind touching the living ones, although they can carry some nasty things, and that's because particularly the females will go and nibble off rotting bones, and they will also particularly target hyena scat. They will go and they will eat hyena scat as a way of upping their calcium levels. And that in turn is obviously not a very hygienic thing to do, and it does make them quite a dirty creature. Well, there's a couple of reasons why you shouldn't really handle tortoises. One is that. The other, of course, is that if you're picking them up, they are very likely to release their bursa of water, their storage water, as a defense mechanism. And that can actually, especially in a dry season, that can really do them some serious damage in terms of depleting their water supply. And those females need that bursa. They need it to soften the soil to lay their eggs. What are you doing now? Have you stopped? Stopped for a rest. Has it been a long walk? No, everything's long when you... Oh! It's going to sleep. I've never seen a tortoise yawn before. I swear I've never seen a tortoise yawn. Have you ever seen a tortoise yawn? Leopard tortoise. I think we've broken our cat streak, and it was a baby leopard tortoise. Does it count for our cat streak? Questionable. Let's see, maybe it'll start to count in the last half hour or so of the safari, clutching at straws. Perhaps we'll go and find a leopard orchid and complete the selection. James, I've never seen a tortoise eating fruits that have fallen off the trees, but they probably would, yes. I don't see why they wouldn't. They might take a nibble or two off it. One of the things, the big things that tortoises really like, not so much the leopard tortoises, but the Speke's hinge tortoises really enjoy, is a good mushroom or a good fungus. They really do enjoy it. And I happened to encounter two Speke's tortoises mating once in quarantine, and the entire time the female was just transfixed by this mushroom that she was devouring. She wasn't paying any attention to her very eager suitor. She was just eating her mushroom. So mushrooms and fungus, yes. Fruit, probably. I don't see why they wouldn't. They are, of course, complete vegetarians, apart from the odd hyena scat nibble. They will, which is just really for minerals and for calcium, they will subsist off roots, shoots, and leaves and anything they can find. This tortoise wants to go to sleep. Now, I said that this tortoise, I guessed that this tortoise is a year old. It might actually be younger. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not an expert at aging tortoises. But Jenny, you want to know if tortoises live in families. They don't, unfortunately. Even from the moment they hatch and they leave the company of their siblings, they go on to lead completely solitary lives until they encounter each other to mate. And their moms don't stick around either. So their moms will lay their eggs and leave them. So they are 100% solitary unless they're mating. So even when they hatch and they're just a few hours old, think of the little turtles, the little sea turtles. We discussed this morning. The way that sea turtles hatch and immediately are struck by this instinct to go waddling down the sea as quickly as possible. Tortoises lead much the same lives, except even less social, because often you get groups of turtles together, feeding together at least. Tortoises not. Pokemon guy, you wanted to know if the plural of tortoises is I've tied myself in a knot here. If you have more than one tortoise, would you refer to it as tortoises? I think so. Sounds right. Tortoises. Tortoises? Tortoises. Pokemon guy, was there a tortoise Pokemon? Just trying to think off the top of my head. Was there a tortoise Pokemon or not? I can't remember. But yes, I'm pretty sure that the tortoise, plural of tortoise is tortoises. Now you've confused me, but I'm pretty sure it's tortoises. Okay, we're going to leave our little leopard tortoise to go about its snooze, because it clearly just wants to be asleep, and here I am nattering on. So I'll leave it to have its nap. Let's go back over to Brent and see how his evening's going.
Are we sure it's not tortai? No, I'm joking. I don't think it is. I think Jamie's correct. Tortoises is the correct one. Now, fingers crossed. If Tingana has left Fred Dam and he's moved into Sibambili this time of the day, he might cross into Djuma around One Eye Pan, the gate. So we've come right up to this area. Also hoping a bit cooler. Maybe there's a little bit of meat left on that hippo. Probably not. Maybe a one hyena would be quite nice. We checked all the hyena dens this morning. Alas, no hyenas. But maybe we might see a hyena on the left carcass. It doesn't that hippo carcass at Sydney's. A little bit of cloud build up over the day, and that's just from the heat. I don't think there's any rain in that at all, so we'll see what happens. Really hoping for Mr. Tingana. Of course, remember, this is live, so we can't plan. We have had an incredible run of 79 days as Big Cats. We all knew it was coming to an end at some point, but hopefully either Tingana or Karula will save us before the end of the show. Or maybe a leopard or lion, we don't know. Okay. I'm about to approach the vast... Oh, hello, Swansons. Highly mobile. No, it's slowed down now. Here we go, a little Swanson spur file. One of our less seen little ground birds. It's the red face. Now spur files have bare faces, whereas Franklins have feathered faces. Now Franklins and spur files have those impressive spurs on their feet for battling over ladies. Oh, off he goes. Not quite a leopard, but a very pretty thing indeed. Okay. What will the vast open plain of Sydney's have in store for us? Thinking cats. Closing my eyes even, so if I crash, it's not my fault. Am I going to crash, Andre? Ooh, this is actually quite nerve-wracking. I can't. Okay. We have sweet nothing. Not even a water bug. And absolutely nothing out on this open area. Is what's left of that hippo carcass. Not much. You can see the ribs under the skin there. So the vultures obviously got inside where the hyenas opened up and did a good clean out job. Impala right in the distance, so no leopards there. Let's go check towards One Eye Pan. Now we're right in the sort of northwestern corner of Djuma, right where the entrance to the Sabi Sands is, Gowrie Gate. Now, let's think. Well, since it has been a relatively quiet afternoon with a few birds, reptiles, and the odd mammal thrown in, what to do next? Aha! I've got a quiz for you. What am I going to quiz you on, you ask? Well, we'll leave it. Oh, let's think. Since we've seen so many birds today, let's do a bird quiz. So, my bird quiz to all of you is, what bird has the longest migration of all the birds in the world? Which bird has the longest migration of all the birds in the world? If you know the answer, hashtag Safari Live or questions at wildearth.tv. Let's see, I'm sure a few of you know that. Who's going to be the quickest on the keyboard? Now, so Red Dam's over there. Last tracks of Tingana are apparently heading west towards One Eye Pan, which is over there, and then generally from there he crosses this road and into Djuma. Now, I know people don't mean to, but occasionally accidentally things do blow off vehicles and stuff. Whoopsie. Oh, I missed neutral. Oh, and radio is attached. So if we do ever see anything, pick it up, throw it away when we get home. Josh in Final Control thinks it to be a goose. Josh, you are very incorrect. Sorry. It is not, indeed, it is not a goose. It is a bird of the water, though, and that's the only hint I'm giving off. It's an incredibly long migration. I will tap. Well, my hat can never escape because there's a microphone in it now, but there we go. It tried to escape. Sorry for the loud sound as I caught it as instinct took over. The wind's picking up slightly, which is actually quite pleasant, cooling us down a little bit. It has been quite humid and sweaty today. Okay, so we're going to start checking these big game paths that run from One Eye Pan into Djuma. Lindy says the steppe eagle. Lindy, it does have an incredibly long migration, but it's not even close to the longest steppe eagle. I think it's about 8,000 kilometers, but it's still far short of the longest migrating bird. Well done to Jay, Raisa and Zoe, you were spot on. Raisa, I was waiting for your name to come up, I know you know that one. It is indeed the Arctic tern. It has a migration of 11,000 miles, not kilometers. Corrugation. 11,000 miles, I'll show you a quick picture of it. The Arctic tern. Where is it now? Sandwich and Royal Gelbild. There are lots of terns. There we go. Now, that little bird migrates for 11,000 miles each year. The Arctic tern. That's what they look like in non-breeding colours. That's what they look like in breeding colours. With the red beak and the red feet, they lose that and lose their black cap during non-breeding season. Well, speaking of someone who's migrating but not quite 11,000 miles away, let's go see what area Jamie's working in.
I'm just migrating along Cheetah Cut Line, and I realized I never finished telling you what it was I saw on my morning safari. And unfortunately, Wendy didn't have any signal. It was when I went to go and search for Tingana pretty early at the crack of dawn in the sunrise safari, and I just wasn't quick enough. We've been talking about all of our different birds. I just wasn't quick enough with my camera. Luckily for me, VM does this for a living and was a little bit quicker off the mark in terms of getting and recording this particular bird, because it's a first for me. I've never seen one. I'm not sure how many, I don't know, I don't think they're that common in the Sabi Sand from what I understand. Maybe they are, maybe I just haven't been fortunate enough to see them. But I saw a dark morph Jacobin cuckoo, an all black Jacobin cuckoo. I have never ever seen that before. Typically Jacobin cuckoos they've got this sort of black top and then very clear white chest. And this one was all black with just a hint of white on each wing. And at first I thought I was going completely crazy and that perhaps the sun was affecting me, but then its partner, it was obviously, I don't know if it's female or male, but the normal Jacobin cuckoo came and sat next to it. We've got quite a few different colour morphs of birds, but some of them are more common than others. Pale warburgs, for example, relatively common to see out here. Pale tawnies, also relatively common, but the cuckoos, that's the first time I've ever seen a dark morph of a Jacobin cuckoo. I'm assuming Brent's seen one before. Apparently they're more common towards the coastal regions of South Africa, but that was definitely a first for me. I was very excited about it and quite devastated that I didn't manage to get a picture of it. But as you know, with our birds, and particularly on these live safaris, when it's got wings, it doesn't necessarily stick around for too long. But yes, that was the exciting thing that I saw. Sorry, there's something crawling on my foot. I'd really prefer if it didn't. Here we go. Oh, and just by the way, we were talking yesterday about my itchy feet. The test that I did with all three of the remedies for itchy bites, I put 3 different types of cures, or local cures, on 3 different tick bites, and they're all itchy again this afternoon, so none of it worked. Although I think that the marula tree, perhaps with constant application, might have been the closest. Maybe it just needs a regular topical application of the cures in order for them to work. But my once-off application of Bushman's grape, panicum grass, and marula tree bark. The marula tree bark worked for the longest, but I think that is a test that will have to be conducted a few more times before we can draw any proper conclusions from it. So there you go, the complete 24-hour test of Jamie's itchy tick bites. Marula tree bark seems to be the best, but they're all itchy again after 24 hours. Now, let's see what we can find. I wonder, it might be a little bit early, and they might have moved. I'm hoping not. But while we were doing our late night safaris, when James was in the Mara, we discovered a few bush baby popular haunts, the places where they spend their days, basically bush baby nests, where they will spend their days sleeping tucked up and then come out as the sun starts to go down. And it's round about this time of evening that the bush babies start to stretch their legs, do a few yawns, and move about. Let's see. This is the tree, if I remember correctly. Let's see if we can spot a bush baby here. I don't know where exactly in this tree they sleep. Hold on a moment, I'm sorry, I'm going to need to do some plugging in of my spotlight to help us out here. And at least you've got a nice view to keep you occupied while I attempt to do this. Oh goodness, we're very tangled. Hold on a moment. Sorry, I had to grab the spotlight in great haste from Wendy this afternoon. There we go. So I think they are sleeping in that hole over there. That's where I think they spend their days, tucked away in there. It'd be terribly convenient if you would pop your head out, little bush baby. Come on, little ones. They might, of course, be in a completely different place. Or they might be deciding to have a little bit of a lion. Or they might have left already. I don't see any signs of movement. It was worth checking. Let me just check the rest of the tree quickly as well. No. Sadly not. No bright eyes reflecting back at me. In our house in Hoedspruit, we've got 3 bush babies living in our roof. It's terribly sweet. They come out every evening around this time. They also happen to be the fattest bush babies I've ever seen in my life. Sorry, got distracted by the Game Drive channel. But we do have 3 bush babies that live at our home in Hoedspruit. They are very, very cute and very comfortable around people. Just checking out some tracks that I've just seen. They are honey badger tracks. Unfortunately, it's now a little bit late for us, or it's not quite spotlight time just yet. Oh wait, it was this tree. I'm so sorry. I've just had a sudden flash of memory. I was in the wrong tree. And I think that's where they come out, over there. Alright, let's repeat this process. Sorry, now I realized it was this tree. Rebecca's doing a bush baby chant in my ear. Will it work? Dun dun dun. No, it won't. It was a good try though, Bex. Good try. Oh, they might live in there as well. Sorry, I found all kinds of holes in this tree. Maybe they live in there. Nope. Okay. I give up. No bush babies today. I think somebody was just trying to call me. No. Okay. Maybe they've decided to have a little bit of a lion this evening on account of the weather. And while I leave my bush baby tree devoid of bush babies, let's go find out what Brent has planned for the rest of his sunset safari.
Well, no sign of Mr. Tingana, no alarm calls. It is deathly quiet and a little bit windy now. And I think Jamie's got a great idea. Look for some bush baby nests. So I think I'm going to have a look at one I know about. I wonder if it's the same one Jamie was looking for. We'll find out. But it's not quite spotlight time, as Jamie said. It's that sort of in between where your eyes are better than a spotlight at spotting things, and we're looking for any little subtle thing that stands out that could be something interesting for us. So Jamie's bush baby tree was on Cheetah Cutline. It is not the same as the one we're going to go have a look at now. Also, once we've checked there, we're gonna roll the dice again, have a look around Treehouse. Maybe Karula's around there. She doesn't like that area. Maybe she got thirsty, needed to go for a drink. Fingers crossed. Now, today I've been to the south, to the north, to the east, and to the west of Djuma, and we have not found any sign of a kitty cat. Oh dear. And no, there was nothing on Arathusa and nothing on Cheetah Plains. So our best bet was Karula, I think, possibly to appear. She might still yet, you never know, that's the joy of being live. Oh dear, I've got hooked, there we go, I've released myself. Now, strangely enough, I haven't heard anything from any of the guides or whatnot about Shadow. She hasn't been seen in a very long time. I wonder where she's hiding. And we went through a stage where there were quite a few new young female leopards that were appearing all over the place. They seem to have disappeared. Quite a few of them seem to have gone further to the south, closer to the Sand River. But I will keep my ear out for any new lions or leopards in the area. So I said there was a new pride of lions that was seen south of Gowrie, Main. Well, a new for the north. I was chatting to Tristan about it. We both think it's more than likely the Sparta pride or Ifield pride that comes from Londolozi or Mala Mala. 5 or 6 lionesses, and that caused those Styx lionesses to push up north. They've gone back towards the east now. And we're nearly at the bush baby nest. Who knows? Will the bush baby nest bring us a big cat? We can only hope. I know everyone is quite sad that the streak might be coming to an end, but if it does, it sets us a target to beat next time. We all knew as soon as it rained, the streak was going to be in danger. Okay. Hi, Gremlins General. Gremlins General would like to know that Arctic terns who travel an incredible 11,000 miles a year, do they refuel or do they travel non-stop? They do stop on the coastlines and sometimes even on ships, and they do refuel, but they do feed during the migration on little fish while they are traveling. Okay, spotlight. Now, where's that bush baby nest? It's around here somewhere. Hopefully an elephant hasn't pushed it down. Okay, I think it's in this gap here. Oh, has it been pushed out? It might, looks like it might have. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, it looks like it's gone. Or am I being confused? Is it still a little bit further? Maybe I was... could be there. No. No. Okay. He's there. Where? Oh, he's there. He's there. Okay, it hasn't been pushed down. It's a squirrel. He's claimed it. It was a squirrel. Did you see him? Squirrel has a baby nest. Now the bush babies aren't there. Okay, no behind the squirrel with the spotlight. But naughty squirrel. Now, bush babies obviously have different homes they utilize during different times of the year, depending on what they're feeding off. It's sort of timeshare, because other creatures, as you'll see, will use that home. Squirrels, certain bird species as well. So it can be a bit of a bun fight. Little owlets, barred owlets and pearl-spotted owlets often have big fights with bush babies over nests. Genre on the... oh, it's ducked down. I think, what was that little genet? I just saw some eyes on that termite mound. They just ducked behind. I'd say just judging from the size, it was probably a genet. Let's just see if we can see behind the... Now, quite often the genets sprint off at a rate of knots. Maybe we'll get lucky. Oh dear, no such luck today. Luck just doesn't seem to be on our side today. It still beats a day behind a desk any day of the year, week, month, etc. And who knows, will our cat streak continue? We have minimal time, but maybe the Queen will be gracious enough to make an appearance. But while I do keep my search going, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
Clock is ticking. Will the Wild Earth Safari Live cat streak will be broken? It would be a catastrophe of cataclysmic proportions if we were to break our cat streak. We have searched high and low, perhaps the catacomb equivalent of Djuma, in order to find them. And we might even be catatonic when we return. Running out of words, and I can't do this with a straight face. We might be catatonic when we return.
Part of this tree exposed, and animals have been using it as shelter and as a home. I just wanted to have a look over here. Alright, Jim, sorry, I was just getting your question there. And Jim, you want to know, and we can see a lovely termite mound here. You want to know, are all the termite mounds in an area linked to a large termite mound, and is there one queen in that large termite mound, and all the other termite mounds are satellite mounds which feed through and support that large one? No. Each termite mound is an individual termite mound. There will be a queen inside there and its own colony. So they are completely separate. They will not be part of another termite mound or linked to it. There will be a queen, there will be soldiers, there will be workers all within this termite mound, and that's it. So, but there are different species of termite mounds, or species of termites, which build different termite mounds. So some will be much larger than others, and others will be really small. Some don't build termite mounds at all. I saw something else hanging over here that I'd like to show you. I'll have a look at this. This is interesting. There is a pupa of sorts from a little insect that's been left there, and that is actually from a cicada bug. And usually what happens is the cicada bug then crawls out of that and flies off. So it starts as a little beetle of sort, or it looks like a beetle, but it's a bug. It's not part of a beetle family at all. And then this cicada then forms this pupa, and what happens is it attaches itself to a branch and then eventually makes its way out of that pupa stage and flies off as the cicada bug, which we are so used to. So we are so used to hearing. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe the difference between bugs and beetles. Sure, what is the... I've absolutely been stumped now by my own comment. I don't know. I don't know what the difference between beetles and bugs are. Beetles generally have a hard carapace, and I think a lot of the beetles that we do get around are winged. Some of them, not all species, but some of them are winged. I don't know. I'm stumped, completely stumped. I have no idea. I'll have to look that up and find out for everyone what the difference between a beetle and a bug is. But the cicadas are bugs. A lot of people refer to them as beetles, though. and I think I'm going to go and try and read up on the cicadas, or not the cicadas, but the difference between the bugs and the beetles that we get in this area. I hope you've enjoyed our walk this afternoon. It's been nice and cool now, which is great. So we're going to say goodbye from myself and VM. Really hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you all tomorrow. I'm going to head back to Brent for an update. Bye, everyone.
Well, Karula keeps flummoxing us, but we have spotted a pretty birdie. Where is he? He's not being the nicest pretty birdie. He's walking, going, gone. He's gone. And he might pop out to forward a little bit. No, he's gone again. He's through that gap. Oh dear. There's a black-bellied bustard, but unfortunately he skedaddled behind the bush. Let's see if we can get a view from this side, possibly. There he is. He's there. There we go. Yep. Oh, he's being a very tricky bastard, this one. I nearly said another word, but of course that's not the bird. There he is. Gotcha. Yes, it's a shy bastard. Looks like a female. So of course the males have that wonderful champagne pop cork call. And can't hear any males calling to impress this lady. She's all unattached. Maybe that's why she's so nervous. Oh, bye-bye. So, we have literally tried almost, well, I'd say probably 70% of the roads in Djuma looking for Karula today. No such luck. The mating pair, or not there, well, we haven't seen the mate, but the pair of lions, Amber Eyes and Mfumo, have been found in Buffelshoek Hook, which is also not great news for us. So I'm trying to think, what is our last hope? Will Queen Karula arrive at the end of the day to save the cat streak? Or will it be over? Will we have to start again? We all knew this day was coming, especially with the rains. The more it rained, the likelihood of our cat streak coming to an end became very, very probable. I haven't checked the top part of Central Road today. And just an interesting update for you guys about the Nkuhumas. They are on the Sibambili Elephant Plains cut line, so very, very far to the west from our boundary. But Tingana, where he was last seen around Red Dam, so there's a possibility he might move as it gets cooler towards Djuma, so we might go check around the Gowrie Gate in that area. So apparently Jamie was trying to show you. Oh, there's a cuckoo. Some birds, and as we said that, let's have a look. How's that, Jandre? Should be. He's there. There we go. Oh, African or European cuckoo, Jandre? African, are you sure? So there we go, we can teach Jandre about cuckoos and we can all learn together. So the African and European are extremely similar looking, but there's a very distinct difference to do with the bill. Now if we look carefully at the bill and see it's quite a dark bill. And I'm waiting to see. Jandre, you want to have another guess? No. Are you sure? No. No? Is all I'm getting is no? No, no. Okay, so it was. Oh, has he flown? Mm-hmm. Alright, so that was actually the first European cuckoo of the season that I've seen. So if we look at the African cuckoo, it's got 50%, almost 50% of the bill is yellow with the black tip, and if we look at the European, the black extends way further down. So there we go, first European cuckoo for me of the season. I haven't heard them because they don't call here, but I'm pretty sure they've been around. We just haven't looked at too many. So there we go, European cuckoo. Now, Jamie was talking about, was it lesser grey shrike? I think was one of them. And she forgot her bird book in Wendy. Oh, a black cuckoo. Well, we were on the cuckoos. Now, the black cuckoo has got that wonderful call, I'm so sad. And you can see why it indeed, let me do it this way, why indeed it's called a black cuckoo. Because it's black. So there we go. And they've got that wonderful mournful call. And then the shrikes. There we go, shrike, shrike, shrike. Was it lesser grey shrike that Jamie was talking about? There we go, they should be arriving soon. Okay. It seems like Final Control is a little confused. It is not the lesser grey shrike. We have seen them once on camera before. They are a sort of uncommon migrant, but it seems like Jamie was actually talking about a bush shrike, which is a different family. And of course, here we go, let's find them now. Oh, wrong way. The ghost bird, which is the grey-headed bush shrike. A very pretty bird. We saw one on the Sunrise Safari very briefly. A very heavy bill and an orange breast and that very prominent grey head with a yellow eye. So we got the grey-headed bush shrike. Very different from the lesser grey shrike, but hopefully we will see a lesser grey shrike this rainy season. Well, there's not much of a sunset tonight with all the cloud around, but Jamie has managed to find a gap, so let's go have a look.
Sorry, I had to laugh at that. I managed to find some sunset. I did manage to find some sunset for you, and I happen to think it's quite dramatic in its own way. The build-up of the storm to the west that I don't think is actually going to happen. I don't think we're going to get any rain, but I think that's a beautiful sunset, don't you? Let's stop for a moment and just take it in. Beautiful. And the thick, dramatic clouds scudding across the sky in these high winds. Judy, you wanted to know whether or not if I know whether other parts of the park have been as fortunate as we have in terms of rain. Some of them have been even more fortunate than we have been. I know that to the south at Crocodile Bridge, which is one of the southernmost points of the Kruger, they had well over I think it was a good 70 to 100 mil rain a couple of weeks ago. So they've had quite a bit, which is good because the south was actually looking the worst I've ever seen it in many, many, many years. In terms of the central Kruger, we were a little bit luckier in the beginning, but they've also caught up with us in terms of the amount of rain that's fallen. And then the north, of course, somewhat conversely to the normal sort of rainfall patterns, actually was in a much better state to begin with. So the north of the Kruger, Shingwedzi and further north from there had actually had far more rain than the south had, which is unusual because it's usually much drier up there. But it seems as though the topsy-turvy weather conditions had actually benefited the animals in those parts of the park. A lot of the areas of the sand, to be more specific, in the Sabi sand, initially didn't have any rain, and that was why we were seeing buffalo herd after buffalo herd after buffalo herd on Djuma, and elephants around every corner. And that was just a few months ago. It was about 2 or so months ago, after we had our first big rainfall on the 18th of September, because it was David's birthday, and he guessed the day right when it was going to rain, so I remember exactly when it was. Whereas the rest of the Sabi sand actually had nothing. Arathusa had very little. The southern parts of the Sabi sand were still looking almost desert-like. And there was Djuma, this little green oasis, sitting in the middle. So we were fortunate there, but the rest of the sands, it seems as though it has caught up with us. On these boiling hot days like today has been, these storms often build up, and on a normal summer's day, they should be breaking and dumping a couple of mils of rain on us every day. Not every day, but every couple of days. And that's just not quite what has happened this year as well. And of course, it didn't happen at all last year. And the storm that's built has gone off. It's blowing straight off to the north. So I don't think, unfortunately, it's going to mean any rain for us. But let us move on now that we've taken the opportunity to take in the atmosphere. I hear you were talking about cuckoos with Brent. I saw something really unusual this morning, and unfortunately I didn't have any signal, nor... Oh, jigger. Sorry. Let's just see where that hornbill's going. I got distracted by a hornbill that's going to a nest. Definitely taking food back. Unfortunately, it's gone right into the dense vegetation off to my right. Now, this morning I saw something unusual. I didn't have any signal, nor in fact did I have the reflexes. Hello! Hi, little guy. I'll tell you what I saw in a moment, but I have to stop first for this. Oh, but you are cute. Now I'm not so jealous of Steph anymore. In fact, I'm pretty thrilled with our little rapidly escaping tiny little tortoise. Hello, little leopard tortoise. I'm just going to give you a perspective of it, how big it is. Don't run away. Oh, it's highly mobile. It's highly mobile. Hi, little one. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. How cute is this? Look at it next to my hand. And actually, the little ones are usually quite comfortable with us. Let's see if it'll do it. Yeah. Hi. Oh, you are so cute. I find little baby tortoises absolutely irresistible. This one's probably about a year old. Just by the way, it is not a newly hatched tortoise, but it's absolutely minute. Isn't it cute? Off it goes, racing along. Bye. Cat, jealous anymore. Cat, how big was the Steph? About the same size. Bye, little guy. Sorry, that was the reason for the high-pitched and very abrupt halt while I was driving along. I'm going to be constantly aware of what's in the road in front of you. I'm just going to reposition and then we can talk a bit about tortoises. And then I'll tell you what it is I saw this morning. I love tortoises. I have a distinct fascination with them. I think it's the expressions on their faces. Now, as we watch our little tortoise beetle off at high speed, those of you who've been watching for a long time will know that we of course have a policy of not picking up tortoises or harassing them in any way, and that we stand by. And you'll notice that I didn't pick him up there. I just put my hands in front of him to see if he would walk over them, which he did. And the young tortoises are usually a little bit more trusting than the adults. Now, we didn't stress it out in any way. It was just like one little extra obstacle to climb over, just to give you a really nice perspective of scale. Where are you going? Look at the little tail. I got asked this morning if tortoises have tails. They do, and there's one sticking out at the back there. Male tortoises have slightly longer tails than females, and that tells me that this is probably a little female. She's got long years ahead of her before she reaches her. Well, of course, tortoises keep growing throughout their lives. Oh, whoopsie. Everything's a very big obstacle when you're very small. Even a stick. Luckily, she's built like a tank and is pure determination. Where are you going? I've lost her in real life. Where did she go? Oh, I see her now. Bree, you wanted to know how big tortoise eggs are when they are laid. Bree, I'm actually not 100% certain. I think it very much... I would have thought it would... No, sorry, that's not true. The number of tortoise eggs depends on the size of the female, not the size of the tortoise eggs itself. I'm going to guess and say they are probably roughly the size of that buffalo weaver's egg that I showed you a couple of days ago. And I'll indicate with my hand roughly how big, maybe just a little bit smaller than that. I'll indicate with my hand how big I think a tortoise egg is. Probably around that big. Reptiles tend to lay bigger eggs for their body size than birds necessarily do. So maybe about that big. But I'm not 100% sure. I really honestly don't know. I'm just thinking in terms of turtle egg size. Turtle eggs are about so big when they lay them. And a tortoise, a sort of reproductively ready female leopard tortoise is much, much smaller than a turtle. So I'm thinking maybe something like that. But I'm not 100% certain. I can tell you that the usual size is around 6 to 20, depending on the size of the tortoise. This morning I guessed at around 20. I went and double-checked that it is between about 5 to 20 eggs that a little tortoise will lay. Let's just watch it before it disappears, just because it's such a fantastic little thing. Now, David, we tend to think of reptiles as something very primitive, when in fact they are kind of the opposite. Just because they look like dinosaurs doesn't mean that they necessarily are. You want to know what it is that makes them live so long. I think it's one of the big things will be quite a slow metabolism. Just in general, the snakes, the lizards, they tend to be relatively long-lived animals. But I see what you're asking, because of course a tortoise can live 70, 80 years, particularly a leopard tortoise. I don't know, David, I'm not sure. Slow growing, slow metabolism, I'm not sure. But very, very good question. And I'd love to see if there's any sort of suggestions about why it is that tortoises live so long. Crocodiles, of course, can live for decades. And so can some of the largest snakes can live for a good few years. Very good question. And not one that I know the answer to. And hello to Grumpy Old Man, and yes, very valid point. I should probably have washed my hands after touching the tortoise. You want to know if they carry salmonella. They can. They're not particularly hygienic animals, and you'll notice I'm particularly reluctant to touch recently deceased tortoises. I don't mind touching the living ones, although they can carry some nasty things. And that's because particularly the females will go and nibble off rotting bones, and they will also particularly target hyena scat. They will go and they will eat hyena scat as a way of upping their calcium levels. And that in turn is obviously not a very hygienic thing to do, and it does make them quite a dirty creature. Well, there's a couple of reasons why you shouldn't really handle tortoises. One is that. The other, of course, is that if you're picking them up, they are very likely to release their bursa of water, their storage water, as a defense mechanism. And that can actually, especially in a dry season, that can really do them some serious damage in terms of depleting their water supply. And those females need that bursa. They need it to soften the soil to lay their eggs. What are you doing now? Have you stopped? Stopped for a rest? Has it been a long walk? No, everything's long when you... Oh! It's going to sleep. I've never seen a tortoise yawn before. I swear I've never seen a tortoise yawn. Have you ever seen a tortoise yawn? Leopard tortoise. I think we've broken our cat streak, and it was a baby leopard tortoise. Does it count for our cat streak? Questionable. Let's see, maybe it'll start to count in the last half hour or so of the safari, clutching at straws. Perhaps we'll go and find a leopard orchid and complete the selection. James, I've never seen a tortoise eating fruits that have fallen off the trees, but they probably would, yes. I don't see why they wouldn't. They might take a nibble or two off it. One of the things, the big things that tortoises really like, not so much the leopard tortoises, but the Speke's hinge tortoises really enjoy, is a good mushroom or a good fungus. They really do enjoy it. And I happened to encounter 2 Speke's tortoises mating once on quarantine, and the entire time the female was just transfixed by this mushroom that she was devouring. She wasn't paying any attention to her very eager suitor. She was just eating her mushroom. So mushrooms and fungus, yes. Fruit, probably. I don't see why they wouldn't. They are, of course, complete vegetarians, apart from the odd hyena scat nibble. They will, which is just really for minerals and for calcium, they will subsist off roots, shoots, and leaves and anything they can find. This tortoise wants to go to sleep. Now, I said that this tortoise, I guessed that this tortoise is a year old. It might actually be younger. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not an expert at aging tortoises. But Ginny, you want to know if tortoises live in families. They don't, unfortunately. Even from the moment they hatch and they leave the company of their siblings, they go on to lead completely solitary lives until they encounter each other to mate. And their moms don't stick around either. So their moms will lay their eggs and leave them. So they are 100% solitary unless they're mating. So even when they hatch and they're just a few hours old, think of the little turtles, the little sea turtles. We discussed this morning. The way that sea turtles hatch and immediately are struck by this instinct to go waddling down the sea as quickly as possible. Tortoises lead much the same lives, except even less social, because often you get groups of turtles together, feeding together at least. Tortoises not. Now, Pokemon guy, you wanted to know if the plural of tortoises is I've tied myself in a knot here. If you have more than one tortoise, would you refer to it as tortoises? I think so. Sounds right. Tortoises. Tortoises. Pokemon guy, was there a tortoise Pokemon? Just trying to think off the top of my head. Was there a tortoise Pokemon or not? I can't remember. But yes, I'm pretty sure that the tortoise, plural of tortoise is tortoises. Now you've confused me, but I'm pretty sure it's tortoises. Okay, we're going to leave our little leopard tortoise to go about its snooze, because it clearly just wants to be asleep, and here I am nattering on. So I'll leave it to have its nap. Let's go back over to Brent and see how his evening's going.
Are we sure it's not tortai? No, I'm joking. I don't think it is. I think Jamie's correct. Tortoises is the correct one. Now, fingers crossed, if Tingana has left Red Dam and he's moved into Sibambili this time of the day, he might cross into Djuma around One Eye Pan, the gate. So we've come right up to this area. Also hoping a bit cooler. Maybe there's a little bit of meat left on that hippo. Probably not. Maybe one hyena would be quite nice. We checked all the hyena dens this morning. Alas, no hyenas. But maybe we might see a hyena. And it's left carcass. It doesn't that hippo carcass at Sydney's. A little bit of cloud build up over the day, and that's just from the heat. I don't think there's any rain in that at all, so we'll see what happens. Really hoping for Mr. Tingana. Of course, remember, this is live, so we can't plan. We have had an incredible run of 79 days as Big Cats. We all knew it was coming to an end at some point, but hopefully either Tingana or Karula will save us before the end of the show. Or maybe a leopard or lion, we don't know. Okay. I'm about to approach the vast... Oh, hello, Swansons. Highly mobile. No, it's slowed down now. Here we go, a little Swanson spur file. One of our less seen little grounders.